all the different pros facing him. So definitely a contender. Meteor Makers, Thijs versus Temple Storm Gaara.
Yep. So looks like we're starting with a Shaman Mirror match, is a little bit unexpected. Both players did ban Hunter from each other, you know, widely regarded as the best class in the game right now. So we're not going to be seeing too many Hunter stomps. We do have Warrior for both players, but aside from that, the lineups are a little bit different. Both players have Warlock, both players have Warrior, but Gaara has Rogue, where Thijs has Priest. So we'll see if that ends up being an advantage for one of the players later on.
All right, but right now we are going to see Shaman versus Shaman, a mirror match. Are there any differences? Because, you know, there's a couple of different Shaman builds. One is with double Doomhammer, other is more mid-rangey. What are we seeing here? Are they the same? Are they different?
It's the double Doomhammer build is definitely more popular in tournament play right now. When you bring Shaman to a tournament, you want it to specifically beat certain classes. And the Doomhammer build will definitely help you do that against decks like Freeze Mage, Miracle Rogue, decks that would give you a hard time otherwise. So I expect to see fairly similar lists with a couple key differences.
Okay, so I think... Have we seen double Doomhammer before in those lists? I'm not sure. I think they're playing the standard. Lava Burst?
They might be playing standard. I feel like Gaara might be playing double Doomhammer. We'll end up seeing. It can go either way. There's so many ways to build Shaman. There are about 20 cards that have to be the same, and then at that point, there's a lot of room for customization. So we see some players including Lava Burst, Gnomish Inventors, Defender of Argus. We've seen Black Knight, Ragnaros. Shaman's just a really flexible class, and as long as you're playing the key removal spells, you can play anything you want on top of that, honestly, and have a pretty solid deck.
Oh yeah, certainly. And looking at the hands of those players, who do you think has a better hand?
It's really tough to say here. Gaara has a pretty solid curve after this point. I feel like this matchup is mostly about board control. You don't usually want to play Feral Spirit before you see a Lightning Storm. In this case, it's fine, I think. But yeah, you basically jockey for board position, get in some damage, and the key cards are definitely going to be Lightning Storm, and Fire Elemental actually is very strong.
Yeah, and when you're playing against Shaman in general, you want to deal with the board as soon as possible. They have a lot of cards that use the board to get a lot of value, like Flame Tongue Totem or the buffs. If you're able to clear the board against the Shaman, you're in a good position. So here, just, you know, maybe not that much face damage. It is possible to rush and to try to race with your opponent, but here mostly like looking at those hands, looking at those cards, it will be minion into a minion and trying to get value as much as possible.
Absolutely. Thijs is going to go ahead and drop an Unbound Elemental right here, which is exactly what Gaara wants to see. I believe Gaara still has coin. He's definitely going to get a pretty clean Fire Elemental off right here, if Thijs ends up going with that play.
Yeah, but is there any other choice? Like, do you go into Feral Spirit and possibly get a Lightning Storm?
I guess Feral Spirit is equally awkward against Fire Elemental, so there really are no great plays this turn. I do expect to see that Fire Elemental play from Gaara here, but his hand has a lot of options, actually. We'll see if he ends up going with like maybe a Lotheb or an Azure Drake instead.
Lotheb is such a powerful card versus Shaman. Shaman is mostly based on spells. If you're able to play Lotheb on a key turn, you can shut down your opponent. Also, we talked about it before when we were talking about the normal games. Lotheb is a card that snowballs pretty hard. If you have a lead, you play Lotheb and you seal the game there. You are able to attack, and you know that your opponent won't be able to play removal spells because they cost more.
Absolutely. It definitely locks up a game if you're in a winning position. Even when you're behind, it's pretty solid. Lotheb is probably the most commonly played legendary in the game, actually, right now, if not one of the most played creatures overall.
How do you like that? The Lightning Bolt, a 1-mana spell, dealing damage to this Fire Elemental.
That's got to feel good if you're Thijs. All right, so Azure Drake plus Earthshock should be able to take out that the opposing Azure Drake here. Just trade off.
That's a lot of spell damage for both players.
Definitely a totem you want to get in this matchup. Spell Power is generally one of the better totems, but in matchups like Warrior, you'd prefer Taunt. In the mirror, Spell Power is super valuable.
So how do you deal with this Azure Drake being Thijs? Lotheb doesn't feel that good. You won't be able to kill the Azure Drake.
I expect Thijs to just use his mana efficiently here. Maybe he hero powers, maybe he plays Haunted Creeper. Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's the card he wanted to get. Lightning Bolt dealing with Azure Drake. Again, a fantastic use of the Shaman spells. And only proves why full damage Shodan is such powerful in this matchup. All the spell damage just doing the work. Like, normally if you deal only 3 points of damage, you have to use something else to kill the Azure Drake. Maybe use a totem, maybe use another spell. But just card for card is fantastic.
There's so many options for Gaara here. There's merit to playing Azure Drake, there's merit to playing Lotheb. After you play one of those, do you hero power, do you just play out Blood Mage?
I like using hero power as much as possible in this matchup. You just, you know, you put those totems in the game, they give you some value, and then maybe you force Lightning Storm, and after you see, do we know how many Lightning Storms those players are playing? Like, most of the players are playing only one.
Really? I've seen most players playing two. A lot of the lists that play 2 Lava Burst, 2 Doomhammer don't play early game creatures like the Indian Egg, so they end up falling behind on board more often. When they fall behind on board, you want cards like Lightning Storm to punish your opponent for overextending.
So would you say that Savitz is like one of the players who's using one, Colento?
Yeah, the chalky list.
Yeah.
Was Savitz using one in Sea Story Cup?
I think Savitz was using one.
Really? Interesting. Well, that Azure Drake gives him the option to bolt Gnomish Inventor. Personally, I would do it to protect the spell power totem. Gaara agrees, goes with that play.
So as you can see, guys, there's a lot of minion trading. Oh, Lava Burst. Does it signal double Doomhammer list?
I think it does. You see, both players have a Lotheb in hand, so the first person to actually get a turn with a living Azure Drake, or just pretty much any minion, will be so far ahead because of the follow-up Lotheb. Lotheb guarantees 5 damage from itself, because it's usually unkillable if you're ahead on board when you play it, on top of whatever damage your other minions would deal. So if you have an Azure Drake, just playing Lotheb guarantees like 13 damage for that turn, and then 9 the turn after. This is why we see the players aggressively trying to deal with the board. We're actually going to see Lotheb right here on a board where he's behind. That's an interesting play from Thijs, but his other options aren't great, and I actually agree with this. I think it's a good play.
Yeah, I definitely agree with this as well. The card that would be needed is like Fire Elemental or Defender of Argus to deal with the Lotheb, but still, it's dealing with the board instead of doing damage. There's a Doomhammer pickup.
Interesting. So we see these players have a lot of experience with this class and Shaman, just with this matchup in general. We see little things like when they put Haunted Creeper on the left side instead of the right to properly position for Flame Tongue Totem in the future. Like, little things like that are really the difference between a good player and a great player.
So what do you think? Do you play Lotheb here or the Doomhammer? Lotheb on one side, on one hand, is a great answer to your opposing Lotheb because there needs to be some trading being done. But Doomhammer, if you're playing two, you want to develop your Doomhammer as fast as possible.
If you do play the Doomhammer, would you kill the Lotheb or just go phase?
I don't think there is any merit in going face. You want to clear the board.
I'd probably Lotheb, I think, but I see Doomhammer as a strong play as well. Toteming has a lot of potential here. If you get Taunt Totem, that Haunted Creeper's not going to do much.
It's going to draw a card, so it's all about card advantage. Oh my god.
I did not expect this play from Gaara at all. Definitely expected a 5-drop right there.
That Lightning Bolt will be really important next turn.
Okay, Earthshock drawn for Thijs. It's a card that, this is one of the reasons that spell power is so important. Cards like Earthshock are generally pretty tough to get value out of in the Shaman matchup. A lot of the creatures have Battle Cry. They've already done their damage once they're in play. The only real good target for Earthshock is usually Haunted Creeper. But if you have a lot of spell power, you can see it killing bigger minions, like earlier this game where it dealt with an Azure Drake with the help of a Spiderling.
Do you feel like Lightning Storm is the card here to play? There are only 2 minions and 2 totems. And totems are not doing that much, but on the other hand, it would be good to get rid of the spell damage totem.
I don't think Lightning Storm is strong enough here to warrant playing it. It's one of your most important cards. I would rather see like a Rock Fighter maybe on Haunted Creeper and just a trade. The Lava Burst is fine too. And you can kill the 1/1. Thijs just wrestling board control away from Gaara here.
And you don't play for a Spirit to not overextend into Lightning Storms.
Exactly, yeah.
Especially because you're leaving the spell damage totem. Unless he makes a guess that there's no lightning storm, it never extends.
Does Gaara have one? Moment of truth.
Is there a lightning storm?
There's even a spell-powered totem in play.
So that's a good call from Thijs. Gaara doesn't have a lightning storm. Is there a way to draw into it? Not really.
I think we're going to see a Lothep, Feral Spirit, Lightning Bolt here.
Lightning Bolt again doing a lot of damage to a creature. That's 1 mana to deal with a 5 mana creature. That's a lot. That's a perfect value for him. And
Thijs has a couple of 6 mana options here. You can go with an Earthshock to help clear out a wolf. It's not very exciting. Maybe just a hero power is the play here.
What about Rock Bitering one of the Feral Spirits?
That's fine too. That's probably the best play. It's just, it feels so awkward, right? Spend your whole turn Rock Bitering 1 wolf token, but there aren't many better options here.
I think thanks to that he will be able to win the board back. Lothop will be still alive. But you kill one of the Feral Spirits with here, I guess. You want to keep the totem.
So this is going to allow him to clear out the spell power totem. The board is back in the favor of Thijs. And very, very key draw every single turn from Gaara, because the second he sees a lightning storm, the game just ends. But if he doesn't see one for long enough, then Thijs has a huge advantage, and it's going to be very hard to come back from that.
Well, Gaara still has a Doomhammer, which is a great card in this matchup if there is no Harrison Jones. And Doomhammer will be able to start clearing the minions. He can kill the Feral Spirit and a Totem, and then clear another Feral Spirit with Lothep. You know what? This Doomhammer is not getting anywhere. It's like 6 durability, it's 12 points of damage.
Yep. Every totem for the rest of the game is just going to be kept in check by that Doomhammer.
Alright, a Flametook Totem is a pretty nice pickup as well. He will be able to kill Lothep easily with one of the spiders.
It's a fantastic draw. Would you... I would save Lightning Storm here. I think you just play the Flame Tongue. It's so risky though, right? You don't have a taunt out. It would just die for free to that onboard Doomhammer. Question is it worth it here?
Yeah, that's a very valid question, because if you play Flame Tongue, the Flame Tongue will be destroyed by the Doomhammer. But maybe you can play it and get as much value as possible. You're not playing Hex or Airshock. You want to keep those cards for late game. And we are entering late game stage right now.
I think I'd like to see a trade here with the Searing Totem as well.
Yeah, I think I would kill the Totem as well. Is there...
You could consider Earthshock. Thijs agrees. Defender of Argus, solid card.
That's why you clear the board every time in Shaman vs. Shaman. Trying to deny this Defender of Argus value as much as possible. But still, thanks to the Totem, you'll be able to play it anyway.
And hey, holding on to that Earthshock worked out really well. It's going to be able to deal with Blood Mage without getting Gaara the card draw. At this point in the game, both players are just starved for cards. It's going to be just a matter of who draws the more high-value, high-impact spells off the top.
This shows, like, on this level of Hearthstone, those great players making the trades, no mistakes, fighting for the board. They just spend all the resources like a war of attrition. Who runs out of cards first? Who can't answer the threat?
That Mana Tide is a fantastic pickup too. Sure, it'll die to the Doomhammer, but not before it draws a card and eats 2 charges of that Doomhammer. That's a decent amount of value.
Yeah, it's like gain 4 health and draw a card.
Getting those charges off Doomhammer is very relevant. That's going to allow his totems to actually start being relevant again, instead of dying off every turn. Right now, Thijs is debating, do I use Lightning Storm here? It's one of my highest value cards in the matchup. I might get more value out of it later. Is it worth pulling the trigger right now?
I think Gaara still has Feral Spirits. Or did he use both of the copies?
I like the Earthshock play here. I think saving the Lightning Storm would definitely work out better. He needs to make the absolute most of every card, because this is just going to come down to a battle of attrition.
I think you do save up Lightning Storm for next turn and try to get a bit more value out of it.
In waiting a turn, he'll likely want to spell power because his totem's going to die. He is going to just pull the trigger on it. Alright.
Oh Wow, Fire Elemental is a great card to get.
Yep. That's one of the better draws.
There is Hex in Gaara's hand. Lava Burst is not the best card. It's just 5. Well, it is some kind of removal, so he will be able to remove Fire Elemental with Lava Burst and keep Hex for something bigger, like Alakir.
Absolutely. Now we see some of the Shaman list actually cutting Alakir in favor of the second Doomhammer. Although it's still an incredibly powerful card, almost like a targeted Ragnaros, almost always guaranteed value. So we still see it in the majority of Shaman lists, I would say.
Is he not going to play Fire Elemental? Is there a reason not to play Fire Elemental here?
I like dropping it here. He wants to wait for the Battle Cry to kill something a little bit more relevant. Maybe combine it with that Lightning Storm later on to take out an opposing Fire Elemental. But yeah, I agree. I like just dropping it here. You know, Thijs is paying attention to the cards that Gaara is... Not only the cards that Gaara is playing, but the cards that he's not playing. He's held on to a couple of the cards in his hand for so long, and Thijs can assume that one of them is Hex, because he hasn't had a good opportunity to play one yet. So this is why he's so hesitant to play the Fire Elemental. He knows that it's almost certainly just going to get Hexed right away, so he's trying to decide if he wants to wait and get better use out of the Battle Cry.
I like it, as a lot of players would just drop it and then be happy that you have a 6-5 and you kill the totem. But I like that. I like just thinking about it and passing the turn. Also, what's really important is that Gaara is almost spent on the Doomhammer. It was a lot of damage, and it helped him to keep his presence in the game. But right now, it's only 2 charges.
Absolutely. This might be one of the rare games where we actually see 16 charges of Doomhammer used by one player, assuming he plays a second one and draws it.
Feral Spirit is a nice pickup.
Alright, so have we gone through all the Lightning Storms just yet? I don't think so. He has Thijs has 1 left in his hand, so we've got a pretty reasonable way to deal with this board from Gaara.
There is no point in playing Flame Totem now. He can play it next turn if he wants to.
Absolutely.
Do you clear the totems? I think you do clear them.
Yeah, if he had like a Lightning Storm of his own, maybe I would leave them up, but I think you just have to take him out right here. But at least the spell power. You can't let that live on a board when you have 3 health minions.
So do you kill the... You obviously kill the spell damage. Did you kill the healing totem or the searing?
Probably the searing in case Lightning Storm rolls 2 damage on the wolf. You don't want him to be able to trade for it.
Yeah, and healing totem is not that great if you have it on the board. Alright. What is Thijs going to get? An Azure. Wow.
That is the best possible card in his deck that he could have drawn. That's going to guarantee the Lightning Storm board clear, and it's just the best 2-for-1.
He also got a card from it, so that was a fantastic card again. Doomhammer will also be relevant. We've seen 1 Reviver from Thijs, but the second one is somewhere there waiting.
The Lightning Storm from Gaara. I expect him to Hex here.
You do Hex. Or do you just Lava Burst? I think you do Lava Burst because of Alakir.
That's fair. Blood Mage Thalnos from Thijs, and he has definitely been drawing the higher impact cards off the top, so he's gotten a strong advantage in the mid game now. Now a Doomhammer of his own to clear out all opposing totems and get some damage in.
So right now Thijs is positioned pretty well in this matchup. He has a Doomhammer, he has the board with a couple of totems and Thalnos. Thalnos guarantees another card unless there will be a Hex on Thalnos, which I don't think will happen.
Ooh, Onyx Keeper is not what Gaara wants to see here. That is the opposite of a good draw. Basically anything that costs less than 5 mana at this point, unless it's Gnomish Inventor, you just don't want to draw.
You want to draw, like, Gaara used both Azure Drakes already. He needs something to draw cards to be able to get back to the game.
Or some Fire Elementals. Have we seen one from Gaara? So he's drawing a lot of his higher impact cards already.
Airshock to easily deal with 1-2. You can do it, especially because you have a Hex.
I like that. You can also go with the Fire Elemental Flame Tongue play. That's an option.
So Thijs is in a position to start dealing damage to Gaara. So we are done with the mid-game phase. We are done with trading. This is the moment where every damage card will matter.
Absolutely. Gaara's dropped a very dangerous life total against his burst-heavy Shaman deck. We're going to see a Lightning Storm potentially clear out the entire board here. Depending on the... It's a slightly above 50% chance, because he can roll a Spell Power token. Okay, if it's not Spell Power, now he has a 50% to kill the Flame Tongue.
He's going to clear all the small totems anyway. And he hits!
Nice. All right.
Clears the board. But still, Gaara's hand is not that great. He has the Flame Tongue, all the cards that are reactive. Nothing that will be able to push with damage, establish a board. So he is still in a bad shape.
Thijs has been so patient with this Fire Elemental. He's had this for 5 or 6 turns at this point. Just very aware of the probability of Hex being in Gaara's hand. Just doesn't want to lose it for no value. At this point, though, Gaara's dropping low. He's considering just using the mana right now.
If he uses this Fire Elemental right now, a single Rockbiter top deck will win him the game next turn.
If you save the Fire Elemental, though, the Rockbiter top deck is still lethal.
Yeah.
So I feel like holding on to it has some merit as well. He is just going to go for it.
He still has a Hex, so if there is like a big taunt, he will be able to deal with it. Mana Tide is too late. Can you easily clear this board?
I have never seen a Shaman Mirror come down to the wire like this. Most of the time, somebody gets a board lead, snowballs, and bursts the opponent out. But this has come down to over 25 cards deep into their decks.
Well, we have great players like Gaara and Thijs. It looked like a chess game with like one move, another move, answer, reply. I really enjoyed this game, but this game is almost over with Thijs having a monstrous lead.
Absolutely. This is almost insurmountable for Gaara at this point, just because of the life total discrepancy. Any bit of damage that Thijs draws off the top of his deck is potentially just winning him the game on the spot.
5 more cards for Thijs. 1 Rockbiter is still there. Whatever Gaara does... Okay, Rockbiter is not lethal because of the Taunt Totem, but it's really close.
Gaara certainly has to use the Hex. He's debating dropping anything on top of that right now. I think he's just throw out the Mana Tide Totem, right? Get a card deeper. He's very few in his deck, though. He's worried about the possibility of Mana Tide being left alive for a long time. You know, fatiguing him.
You know what? Rockbiter is still lethal because, oh my god, it is...
Because of the Hex.
Oh my god, that was not the Rockbiter you wanted. That was the Rockbiter for Gaara. I thought it was the Rockbiter for Thijs. But the funny thing is, like, if Thijs would get a Rockbiter, you hex the 0-2 totem.
Now you can see Thijs checking the size of the decks as well, debating whether to hex this Mana Tide or not, because he's aware of the possibility of just the Mana Tide killing its controller. If you draw too many cards, you start taking fatigue damage. Gaara's really low already. Does he go for it? And he does.
He does kill the totem. Oh, he decides to attack for damage with the Doomhammer. Interesting.
I think he's aware of the second Doomhammer in his deck. In case he draws that, he wants to get the charges out right now.
Well, Gaara in the bind of Flame Tongue Totem is not a card to do anything. It's also running low on life, so whatever happens, he will start getting fatigue damage pretty soon.
Yeah, that Flame Tongue is not what he wanted to see right there. Interesting. Just gonna throw out both of them. Okay, I like that play. It's funny, even if you Lightning Storm that board of 4 creatures, it increases the damage that Thijs has in play.
There is a Rockbiter now, but doesn't matter. If he would actually keep the weapon...
Taunt Totem was a great one to roll, huh?
Yeah, but still, if you keep the weapon with Doomhammer, you hex the totem, you attack the totem with the Web Spinner, and then you finish the game with a Rockbiter Doomhammer. But now he doesn't have the Doomhammer, so he is not able to finish it right now.
Is Gaara actually in this game after being so far behind for so long? Is there a chance of him winning?
He is staying alive, barely. He is a survivor. How many cards? There's 3 cards from Thijs and 4 cards from Gaara. He still has 1 more Fire Elemental. Do you think they play Alakir? Or do you just call Alakir play double Doomhammer, Lava Burst?
I wonder if there are any players that play all three Wind Fury cards. The Alakir with the double Doomhammer. I think usually you only see two, whether that's one of each or whether Doomhammer is up to the player. This Rockbiter is just not that exciting right now. Would not fault him for...
Not exciting anymore. But if he gets a second Doomhammer...
Ooh.
That's a card. That's a lot of damage.
So now do you use Rockbiter to kill off the Haunted Creeper before the Lightning Storm? I think so.
I think you do. I think you do. You just attack into the frog, kill the 1/2, play the unbound Lightning Storm, and hope that your opponent won't be able to interact with this card and with the board.
This is all about what finishers Thijs has left in his deck. Gaara is so low, and if Thijs immediately draws something like a Doomhammer, that puts him incredibly far ahead. But then Gaara has the opportunity to draw a Taunt, maybe another Defender of Argus, maybe just rolling a lot of Taunt totems. And if he can just stay alive long enough to win the game with this Unbound Elemental that he drew, this could be an absolutely incredible comeback from a position that looked unwinnable just a few turns ago.
You know what card would be amazing? Alex Straza. After the Hex is used.
I think just about any card that costs 9 mana would be incredible right now. Interesting. Chooses to save the Rockbiter.
I think it's okay.
I don't like this as much.
There is only one token. Or a 2/2.
This is going to force him to lose that Taunt Totem. And all of a sudden he's become much more vulnerable to damage.
To a Doomhammer with a Rockbiter.
Is Gaara considering that there's a second Doomhammer in his deck and he wants to save the Rockbiter for that? That would make a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, that might be the only way to win this game. Because you are so far ahead, and you still need to deal 28 points of damage. Defender of Argus, by the way, is really important. You will be able to stop the onslaught and prolong the game. And the longer the game is, the better for Thijs. If they go to fatigue, Gaara will be in a bad spot.
It's these games with Flame Tongue Totem being such a prevalent part of the board that you see like just how important it is to focus on minion position. I think we're going to see a Rockbiter here clear out a Flame. Well, really?
I think he wants to keep it as the finisher.
You have to Rockbiter the Flame Tongue. Wow. That's 4 more damage Gaara has to work with, and there it is. That's the reason he saved the Rockbiter last turn.
How much damage is it right now? This is 10 plus 5, 15, 19.
That's not a small number.
That's a lot of damage.
He can almost 30-0 his opponent.
Did Gaara use double Rockbiter already?
I think this is the last one.
That's not a Taunt Totem, and it matters, because he is still open.
Do you run both Flame Tongues into...
the 1/3 spell damage totem?
Or even the 2/3 to keep the Unbound at a higher health?
I think you can, what you can do is, you still have maybe 1-2 more turns.
So maybe Spell Power plus Flame Tongue into the Spell Power totem and then clear out the Defender?
I think you definitely have to clear the board, develop the Doomhammer, and go face, deal as much damage as possible after clearing the minions. And do not take any damage. Like with Doomhammer, you have to go face.
Is Doomhammer off the top equal to Thijs? What does he have more burst in his hand?
He has Rockbiter.
He has Rockbiter. Okay, there's like a 1 in 4 chance every turn. If Gaara can just dodge that last Doomhammer.
Does Gaara win next turn?
Oh.
This is super close.
Okay, so that Fire Elemental, it's not lethal, it's 2 damage short, but it's going to help Thijs get more time to draw into lethal by killing out a Flame Tongue here. It's going to reduce Gaara's damage by 4. Very relevant amount because with that Rockbiter in hand, he's just threatening so much damage.
Do you use Hex even? I don't. Hex is awkward because you put a taunt to on your opponent's side of the board. But still, I'm amazed what Gaara did. He was in such a bad shape. Like he didn't have a board. He was dying there, and right now he has a fantastic board. He is almost dead, but not dead yet.
The fact that the game has even gone on this long is just a testament to the quality of these players. I'm impressed. I thought this game would be over 8 turns ago.
I think this is the best Shaman versus Shaman game I've ever seen.
This might be the only Shaman versus Shaman game I've seen in a long time in a tournament. The deck's picked up, or the class rather, has picked up quite a bit in popularity lately. With the advent of the ban format, a lot of players are taking out Hunter, and that generally leaves Warlock as the best remaining deck. Shaman is good because it's one of the only classes that's good against both versions of Warlock, Zoo and Handlock.
This is 6-7. Rogue Barrier, this is 17 points of damage. Gaara needs a 5, and that's not 5 points of damage.
Alright, so I think we have to see a Rock Biter used defensively here, which really hurts having a Doomhammer in play. But you just can't let Fire Elemental live, I don't think.
Can Gaara afford to use the Rock Biter to clear?
It's actually probably better to run the 2 totems on the right in, Spell Power and then Flame Tongue. Just save the Rock Biter for burst.
There is a Taunt on him.
Yep, and it's going to have power after this turn.
But do you risk it? You can always like also go face with everything and just leave the totem. But I guess it's better.
Here it is, moment of truth.
Gaara has lethal next turn.
The last card
is it lethal? It is Doomhammer, and it is too late.
Wow.
Oh my god.
This is the most insane comeback. Gaara was down 20 points of life and behind on board. And somehow, by virtue of the second Doomhammer being the absolute last card in Thijs' deck, has managed to come back and win this game from 2 life.
Wait a moment. Is this lethal for sure? If you attack into one of the Flame Tongues, then how much damage is it? You're on 10, 4, 8. He will be short.
Doesn't Gaara still have
he used
a Rock Biter? Or I thought he had a Rock Biter.
Oh, he still has. Okay, he still has a Rock Biter. You're right. You're right. You're right. Then it's over.
Plus fatigue damage.
Oh my god! To the last card. No more cards.
What?
The Fire Elemental
game.
Seal it.
Wow. And Gaara, the reigning Dreamhack Bucharest champion, Tempo Storm Gaara takes the lead in Game 1 of the finals here. The Dreamhack Bucharest Nescafé 3in1 Hearthstone game.
Best of 7 series. I think this is a fantastic start for this series. It's only the first game. Oh my god.
Down to fatigue. No cards in deck for both players. If you asked me how I thought a Shaman Mirror would go at the beginning of that game, I would not have thought anything like that. So
Gaara is picking the Shaman again. This is King of the Hill, so his deck stays, and Thijs has to choose.
Thijs has the option of Warlock, Priest, and Warrior. And I think most players would go Priest in this position. That's generally considered one of Shaman's only weak matchups.
Definitely are not going with Warrior. Shaman counters Warrior, and Warlock as well. If it's a handlock, and we suppose it's a handlock, then Shaman is winning versus handlock most of the time as well. Priest is a counter. You take Priest.
Yeah. Even if it's Zoo, I think Shaman is a pretty solid chance. So let's now this matchup is bad for Shaman. Like Priest will definitely be favored. I expect Thijs to tie it up here, but it's not unwinnable for Shaman. With some tight play, and depending on how the decks are constructed, it is possible for Shaman to win, but has to play a very attrition-oriented game. That Dark Cultist is probably the best card to have in the opening hand in this matchup, so Thijs is going to be an uphill battle for Gaara for sure.
Well, basically, this is a very tough matchup for Shaman because Priest has a lot of clears. Like, Alkanite Soul Priest, Circle of Healing, clearing the board. There is the combo I just said, Circle of Healing, Alkanite Soul Priest. Pyromancer to clear the board. Combo Shadow Priest being a very key card. Just after turn 6, whatever you play that has 2 attack, you have to consider that it can be stolen from you.
Absolutely. Cabal Shadow Priest, I would argue, is the most dangerous card for the Shaman to play against in this matchup because it's so much about value. Cabal Shadow Priest generates a minion for you, 2 minions, and destroys one, even if it has Death Rattle completely. That's just too swingy to come back from most of the time.
There's also one more key card, but I'm not sure if Thijs is playing it. Harrison Jones.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. So we've seen Harrison Jones gain a bit of traction lately with more Shaman, more Doomhammers, seeing a lot of Rogue and Warrior in tournaments.
Oh, man.
Oh, what a call. Well,
you better not play your Doomhammer, Gaara.
So a really heads-up play that can be made with the Doomhammer from Gaara is he can just, if he doesn't need both attacks, he can leave it on 7 durability, for example, and then the Harrison forces the priest to draw as many cards as there is durability. So you'll burn through quite a few of them because, you know, drawing 7 cards will usually overfill your hand, and at that point you're getting closer to fatigue. It's you get a huge board lead and a lot of card advantage, but it can hurt you in the long run.
Yeah, I certainly agree. It seems like Hearthstone Jones was created to counter Doomhammer because you kill the 5-mana weapon, you gain a turn, and you draw a lot of cards. But there are those different situations when you don't want to do it. First, as you said, you can overdraw. Then, if you keep your Doomhammer and you play it by the end of the game, you might fatigue yourself out. And also, for Gaara, having double Rogue Banner in hand, you can just, you know, drop your Doomhammer and attack for what, 16 out of nowhere.
Absolutely. Now that Akanai circle combo, Thijs has to consider, do I want to pull the trigger on that right now? I think you do. I
think you do pull the trigger. It's just so much value, and nothing apparent to be able to kill this Akanai Soul Priest. And Akanai Soul Priest changed the priest's heal power. Instead of healing, you deal 2 points of damage for 2 mana, which is perfect. Great stuff to kill the Dolans, but there is an air shock.
We're going to see Akanai Soul Priest get dealt with, but not before it's done its damage. Ancient Blade Master comes down as a 4/5. And yeah, Priest seems a pretty good spot from here. Gaara's hand has a lot of plays going forward, but Azure Drake doesn't match up that well against the 4/5.
Being Gaara, do you develop the Doomhammer now? That might be the perfect turn to just play the Doomhammer.
If you do, you don't have a follow-up for next turn. When you play an Overload card, you really have to consider how it's going to impact your plays the following turn. And in this case, I think it just gets in the way a little too much.
So do you throw him up in Unbound Elemental?
I might just play Azure Drake. Let the Blade Master kill it. Deal with it next turn with a Rock Biter and a second Azure Drake.
That's fine, I guess. You draw a card and you still have a second Azure Drake anyway.
Yeah, it's not pretty, but without a Hex to deal with that Blade Master, there aren't a lot of great options there. This is about to be a fantastic turn for Thijs, and this is really where Priest starts to exert its dominance in the matchup. Drawing a card, clearing the Azure Drake out.
So it starts for the Priest.
Yep.
He had a good start, he was able to clear Shaman's board, and Shaman is weak if there is no board to play with.
So I like Doomhammer Rockbiter here, just clear out the whole board.
I think you have to do it. Just playing passively and playing minions that are just going to die, being killed by Injured Blade Master.
You know what? What's brutal is he has to make this play because nothing else can possibly get him back in the game because he's so far behind on board. But that's just going to play right into the Harrison.
He'll be so sad to see Hearthstone Jones. We are seeing Hearthstone Jones into Doomhammer, I think many times at the Dreamhack finals. It happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
And there's a first combo Shadow Priest.
He might play the Pyro first and not overdraw too much. This really just shows the power of predatory cards in Hearthstone, like Harrison Jones, Big Game Hunter, Black Knight. They're so powerful when they hit.
When they hit, because when they don't, they're not that great. And this move is filling Thijs' hand. I don't know how Gaara can actually come back here.
Me neither. I think this is just straight up over.
One Doomhammer is out. Double Rockbiter is out. Fight for board and lose.
My hand is too full.
Oh my god, Northshire Cleric, please.
At least he doesn't have to deal with the Northshire there.
The burn.
He's got that going for him.
This Hearthstone Jones is growing.
Yep, we're going to see a Power Word Shield into a trade. Deal with that 4-power minion. Normally, 4-power minion pretty tough for Priest to deal with, but you know, not when you have board advantage and a million cards in hand.
Fire Master is one of the better ways to deal with the 4-power minions for Priest. Like you can do those shenanigans with playing a lot of spells, dealing damage to board. He still has like a second Pyromancer, so whatever Gaara does, for Gaara the best chance is probably to overextend and spam minions. If you play...
Yeah, now if Gaara were playing on ladder, I feel like he would have conceded immediately following the Harrison Jones, but this is a tournament, there's a lot up for grabs right now, a lot at stake. So Gaara's going to play this game out just to get more information about what's in the Priest deck. now that he has the information that Harrison Jones is in there, that's definitely going to affect his play going forward.
Yeah, it's in a tournament play, it's good to just stick around, try to prolong the game. Maybe something will happen. Just learn as much as possible. Also, people are playing different versions of Priest. So as much information you can get is better. And Thijs will have to stay with the Priest deck if he wins this game.
Thijs is considering stealing the Mana Tide, but doesn't want to draw that many more cards.
It's like first world Priest problems. I have too many cards, I'm not stealing your Mana Tide.
I got this 10 for 1. I can't. Stealing Mana Tide's not good anymore. Oh man. Well, if you're not stealing it, what do you play here?
You can still play Cabal. Your board is so big that you don't care about stealing stuff. You just want to finish the game as soon as possible.
I kind of like just stealing it and playing Dark Cultist. Why not? You're not going to overdraw, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. You're in a great shape to finish the game. So can Gaara interact with this board right now? How much damage is it? 6, 10, 15. It's almost lethal. Now he can. Lightning Storm is the card. Maybe we'll get him back. There's the Thalnos.
Yeah, he's got the Thalnos to help him out with that line of play. We'll see if he goes with that. And now the Priest decks, they do play a lot of reactive cards, Silence, Holy Novas, Removal. So a lot of times we see in games where Priest goes to Fatigue, it often just runs out of win conditions with cards with which to kill your opponent. So this game, I don't think we're going to see that happening just because Priest has drawn so many of its cards. Gaara's just not going to have the tools available to deal with whatever Thijs does play out. But it does occasionally happen that you just run out of Blade Masters, you played out your Cabal Shadow Priest, you just have nothing left to kill your opponent.
Do you totem up and try to get a spell damage on him first?
You might as well. Alternatively, you could play Unbound and make a big Unbound. Maybe Bolt afterwards as well.
Bolt the Cabal.
Maybe Bolt the Cabal first, and hope to roll a 4 on Dark Cultist and 5 on the Storm.
Right, he's going to Storm. And he hits low on a Dark Cultist.
He hits low on everything.
Yeah, but the Dark Cultist could actually die there. Oh man. He already was in a bad position. Gaara only 2 cards in hand. Mind control. Casual mind control.
Yep. I'll take that 4-6. At this point, we're just going through the motion. Gaara just wants more information. Now he knows there's a mind control. Most Priests do play 1. He's just confirming it.
It seems tough. I mean, Shaman versus Shaman, he did his best to be able to win that game, and now he's just going to lose his Shaman to a counter deck. But this is how Hearthstone works in the tournament setting. You just have those counter decks which have an advantage. Like, there's not a 100% chance that Priest is going to win versus Shaman, but it's around 80, 75. It's a lot.
Upsets do happen, as we saw in Game 1. Well, I expect to see Doomhammer into, well, all the plays are a bit awkward this turn.
What do you do to force Thijs to play more cards, give you more information about his deck?
I guess he would play cards like Hex and Feral Spirit to slow the game down as much as possible. Doomhammer's more of a play-to-win line of play. I expect to see... Wait, is this lethal? Yeah, this is lethal. Use Shadow Madness, the Spell Power Totem, and Holy Nova.
Yeah, right. That's a nice line of play. I like it. Can he spot lethal? I guess he does. What a...
Alright.
That's a fun finish.
Thijs is going to tie it up 1-1 in this best-of-7 series against Gaara.
So Gaara is left with a Warrior deck, a Warlock, and Rogue against a Priest. What do you take? I'd say Rogue.
I agree with you. I would go with Rogue here for sure. Gaara's got that important first game win, so if he can just keep trading back and forth favorable matchups, he will be the first person to 4 wins and win the best of 7 series. It's why we see these, the first game be so important. Like, if you win that first game and you just counterpick your opponent the entire way through, it's an automatic win. Now, there are upsets, you know, even if you do get all favorable matchups, we see players lose a favorable matchup very often in tournaments. Anything can happen, it's Hearthstone. But, yeah, it's generally a good strategy. I would not sequence his classes out of order here. I would just go for the immediate best matchup.
That's why we were having the best of 7 series where players can try to fight for against the counters, and maybe at some point there will be a matchup which is a bit closer than like 70%, 80%. It will be like 50, 50, 55, 45. What do you think the win the percentage is here? Like how big of an advantage is it for Rogue to win this?
Something like 70. Although I think it's mostly reliant on whether Priest draws Lotheb and whether Rogue draws Auctioneer, because Miracle Rogue is a very powerful deck. You play a lot of cheap spells and gadgets in Auctioneer, which draws a card for every spell played, and you want to just draw your Auctioneer, use it to get a huge lead on cards over your opponent, and control the board. Now, when you don't draw Auctioneer, the Rogue deck just plays a lot of low-impact, cheap spells that your hand just runs out, and you basically can't do anything. So we see that occasionally happen. The Blademaster Circle is one of the best openings. This is a fantastic opening hand, honestly, for Priest.
Yeah, it's a fantastic opening, but maybe not that great against Rogue because there is Sap. So Rogue is one of the classes that can interact with this opening.
It's definitely true. It's not. I still agree with Ty's line of play of going for this because the Rogue would not keep Sap in his opening hand. So it's less likely, if you consider mulligans, that Gaara would have it. But in this case, he does have the answer to it. We'll see if he ends up going with that this turn.
I think there is no reason not to. Against the Priest, you want to stop the damage and be able to develop your board. He doesn't have an Auctioneer, so he needs to mind the damage for now. If Priest builds up the board with cards like a 4/7 Untitled Master, Dark Cultist, Cabo Shadow Priest, it will be hard for Rogue to interact with that. He will need like a Deadly Poison with a Blade Flurry to have a bigger AoE.
So I'm a big fan of Violet Teacher Prep Eviscerate right here. A lot of people like to save that preparation for Auctioneer. I'm not ambitious enough to assume I'll draw it during the game, so yeah, Gaara agrees. He's going to go with that play.
I like it. You develop the board, you clear the board on your opposing side. And it's a very strong play, especially because you don't have the gadgets on, so you want to develop the board and be able to rush your opponent.
That's really the strength of a card like Violet Teacher, as we can see here. It's even if you have the gadgets in, it lets you develop minions and deal with the board a turn earlier than a gadgetsin would. Sometimes one turn is just the difference between having time to play or conceal or not.
Can you tell me more about Violet Teacher? Why is it being played right now in this Rogue build?
Well, after the Leroy Jenkins nerf to 5 mana, it made it impossible to Shadow Step Leroy 3 times in one turn and get that 18 damage burst. And because of that, the Rogue lists essentially freed up 3 slots. So we see a lot of variety with what Rogues try to do after the nerf. Violet Teacher tries to be just a damage source, a slightly less effective Gadgetzin Auctioneer, but has a bit of a different effect. It's very strong against Hunter because a lot of times you don't have time to wait for turn 5 or 6 to play Gadgetzin, whereas Violet Teacher lets you get on board a turn earlier. We don't see Unleash the Hounds too often, so you don't usually get punished for making 1/1s, and a lot of times it just wrestles board control away from Hunter, which is the class with the biggest target on its head at the moment.
All right. Right now, this Violet Teacher is doing a lot of work, and Gaara has to decide how to clear this Dark Cultist. Do you think he will attack with weapon at some point? Because if he doesn't, he is in trouble.
Potentially might. I'm gonna see a Eviscerate attack. I like it. Gaara has seen the Harrison at this point. He's gonna be very aware of that in the game's going forward.
And there is a Harrison. There was a Harrison top deck last turn from Thijs. Do you even play it? You will be able to draw 1 card.
If you're Thijs at this point, you're just praying for a circle of healing. You want your Auctioneer Soul Priest to be able to deal with the board, maybe a concealed Auctioneer later on. Just you're so far behind on board, you just need something to deal with this.
Maybe Holy Nova is just a play.
Yeah.
Just clear the board, get Violet Teacher to free, heal 2. Doesn't look bad, and you want to keep Harrison for a weapon which is a bit bigger, or maybe with a Deadly Poison.
It definitely slows the game down a bit, which is what the Priest is looking to do right now. Now, if you Shadow Madness a Violet Teacher, do you get a 1/1? I'm not sure how that works.
That's a very good question. I'm not sure as well. Sometimes triggers in Hearthstone are real.
Oh!
My god, this is the card he needed.
All right, it's not over. Now, Priest can draw a Circle of Healing or a Loatheb. There are 3 outs, but that is a fantastic draw for Gaara.
On curve.
He just needs to dodge. He needs to dodge 3 cards right now. This is a huge draw.
There's a Circle of Healing.
Ooh, not what Thijs wanted. So he's going to go for the Harrison. Has an immense lead. Before that draw, Gaara was at such risk of just running out of cards to play and petering out. But at this point, he's going to be able to draw through a good chunk of his deck, maybe find the second Auctioneer, some Azure Drakes. He's not going to run out of resources this game anymore.
Also, he protected his Violet Teacher, so now he will be able to deal a lot of damage with this board. He has a spell, so he can start, he can make gadgets and start digging. So they just instantly weapon up and deadly poison?
I think so. He definitely wanted to draw a second spell there, but you know, another Auctioneer's not bad. I guarantee that you have stuff to do for a while to come.
One of Knives, it's 2 cards for him. But do you even play it?
Well, it depends on how good SI Agent is right here. You know your opponent didn't have Auctioneer Circle last turn, or else he would have played it. So maybe you just go for the SI Agent.
But your opponent did draw 2 cards. He was able to...
Was it 2 or was it 1?
It was 1. If he was paying attention, there was a Power Word Shield being drawn from Harrison, and then a card is done out.
Honestly, this is the better play, I think, from Gaara. It does open up the possibility for Thijs to top deck Circle of Healing once again.
Well, Thijs also has a Pyromancer and a Silence, and a Shadow Madness.
You need to kill these minions, you can't just silence them.
You can just Shadow Madness and clear, possibly?
Not quite everything.
Maybe leave the SI7.
I do think that's the play here. I don't think you're going to see it. Here's the moment of truth. Do you get the 1/1? Oh.
Nobody got the 1/1.
Yeah. Interesting.
I feel betrayed. Somehow. Alright, but it's not over for Gaara. He was able to deal some damage. He has a second Gadgets and Auctioneer, so he can still draw cards and stay in game. Preparation is a fantastic card to get.
Exactly what you want when you have Gadgets and Auctioneer. Preparation is just so imbalanced if you have the Auctioneer, and so mediocre if you don't. The card is either like a 1 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. So here we see it at its best, playing a Fan of Knives for free, allowing Gaara to get 3 cards deeper into his deck. That backstab can keep it going if he wants to use it on his own minion, but that would reduce Gadgets into 2 health, which should put it in danger of dying to Holy Nova or Holy Smite, or just Auctioneer Soul Priest.
You can't even play the SA7 to deal even more damage. That's 12 points of health on Priest. Priest is dying.
I like attacking here too. Gaara's going to save the charge just in case he draws Blade Flurry, but I like just swinging there and making a new weapon next turn, potentially.
What can you even do being Thijs? I think Holy Fire into the Gadgetsan and heal.
Yep. Best line of play, so he's out it. He doesn't have to worry about Gadgetsan anymore. But this Loatheb, like we mentioned, if you're ahead on board and you Loatheb, it is so tough to lose from that board.
Not to mention that you can still play Violet Teacher as well. So this board is so powerful.
Still think Circle of Healing gets Thijs out of this.
With Loatheb?
Yeah, for the most part. Well, Circle it would cost 5.
It's still 5, so
9 total.
But this will be 8 plus 3, 11. So if there will be a circle, still, Gaara will be only 2 damage off lethal. But this is over now.
Yeah.
Thijs concedes to Gaara.
Alright, and the favorite in that particular matchup wins once again. Gaara's going to take the lead once again, 2-1 over Thijs here in the finals.
Being Thijs, what do you pick to counter the Rogue? You have your trusty Warrior. You have a Warlock.
Usually Warlock. I would argue that both versions of Warlock are pretty reasonable against Rogue. I think Handlock is phenomenal against Rogue, whereas Zoo, it's much closer of a matchup. Very coin dependent. Whoever has coin gets a huge advantage, whether that's the Rogue or the Zoo player. No, you might actually see Warrior. A lot of Warriors are comfortable with their Miracle Rogue matchup. You know, the deck doesn't have as much burst as it used to. You have time. All right, so this matchup is very, very difficult to win if you're Gaara. Once again, extremely lopsided, sort of an 80-20, I would say.
It's not a surprise, but you need a Gadgetzan.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the way the Rogue can win is you need Gadgetzan, you need your preparations, and just you need to do lots of degenerate things very quickly and draw through your deck, get ahead on board, and
also assume that the Warlock won't have all the cards like Twilight Drakes and Mountain Giants, and you will need a sap to be able to sap and get one turn to win. There is a Gadgetzan in Gaara's hand.
Now, a lot of times we see this in tournament play when Warlock is involved. Both players taking a very long time to make their mulligan decision, because if you pay attention, you can see how many cards your opponent puts back. And a lot of pros feel like that lets them know whether their opponent is Zoo or Handlock. Warlock is unique in that it's one of the classes that has two decks that are so different from each other. And when you're mulliganing, you don't really know which one you're looking to beat.
And Thijs is a player who didn't use Warlock at this tournament. He didn't show it. He was hinting that he can be playing anything. We were interviewing him after a game of ECOP, and he was saying, like, hey, I can use anything, and it's certainly possible. Even though he's known as a handle player like Thijs, he always tries to get an edge whenever possible. So if he will be playing Zoo at this tournament, I wouldn't be surprised. That will give him an edge.
Absolutely. You even saw a bit of mind games there. Thijs is hovering over his Twilight Drake on the first turn, maybe bluffing a one-drop. Lots of little things that go unnoticed going on here. I think we're just going to see an SI agent the turn after this, hero power this turn, agent the turn after. Gaara's considering, you know, agent and agent, but I think you want to save that coin for your gadgets.
Yeah, certainly. You want to save the coin, maybe even use it for something else. I don't feel that you are forced to play SE7. Alright, a Sludge Belcher pickup, but for Warlock it's pretty standard. It's lifed up, there's not much threat from the Rogue, and you just play those Twilight Drakes and hope they win you the game.
Yeah, that's huge. So yeah, if you're the Warlock, you pretty much just need either a Twilight Drake or a Mountain Giant on turn 4. He has both. It's going to be very tough to lose from here. If you miss out on your 4-drop, I feel like the Rogue actually has an advantage, but it's very rare. Because not only do you mulligan for those threats, but you also draw a couple extra cards with your hero power before turn 4. So it's very rare that Warlock wouldn't have a Twilight Drake or a Mountain Giant on 4.
I have to say that Thijs' hand is really good. With double Twilight, Mountain Giant pickup, he has a Sludge Belcher, he has a Lothar, which is, as we mentioned, a key card against the Miracle Rogue. So being Gaara, what do you do here?
Well, you pray to draw a lot of preparations. You definitely don't use coin right now. I would probably play the SI agent because I don't think it's going to be an option in the future. Just attack phase. Hopefully get that Drake attacking minions. He's going to go for the Fan of Knives. That gives him a card. It gets him a card closer to preparation for his gadgets in turn. But the fact that Thijs has Lothab on top of, you know, just a good amount of threats, he's going to make this nearly unwinnable. Even if he gets that insane auctioneer turn, he can't snowball off the turn after. Lothab's going to stop that.
I like attacking phase because Warlock will be forced to trade with the SA7 anyway. We know that Miracle Rogue can burst and deal a lot of damage, so being Handlock, you just steadily build up your position. Turn 5 life up into Mountain Giant, a very nice play, just using your mana curve. Mana, like a 3-drop with an 8-8. I'd say it's a good free drop.
It's not bad. Well, alright, if you're Gaara at this point, you just gotta go for the conceal, I think.
Conceal or concede?
Well, either or. I think you go for the conceal until you see the Lothab. Then you transition into the concede.
Yeah, Gadgetzan coin conceal is such a powerful play, but not if you're staring at this board. You don't even have a sap, you don't have preparation, and Lothab is just sealing the game.
I mean, before Naxxramas, this matchup was already extremely tough for Miracle Rogue, and after Naxxramas, Handlock got Sludge Belcher and got access to Lothab, whereas Miracle didn't really gain nearly as much. So not only did Leroy get nerfed, so Rogue is worse, but Handlock is better. So the matchup is even more lopsided than it used to be.
Might be like 90% for Handlock.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing a scenario where Handlock loses.
Nice. We're going to see Lothep attack face, and this game is over right here.
You know, even if he didn't have the Lothep there, he could have Shadow Flamed the Drake. It's brutal.
You can't even play a Shiv. What do you even do?
I think it's escape concede time. I mean, you can kill the Lothep with your SI agent. But aside from that, it just doesn't look great for Gaara here.
Well, I guess you just do whatever and try to see one more card from this Handlock, because this Handlock is going to stay for the next game. Gaara is trying to think about options.
Now Gaara kept SI agents in his opening hand, so I'm not sure if he's seen Thijs play Warlock yet, so he kind of hedged. Thijs ended up playing Handlock, and yeah, definitely a favorable matchup. He's going to tie up the series against Gaara 2-2.
Oh man, this is the perfect final. A lot of counters, a lot of good matchups. So Gaara has to pick one of his two remaining decks, which are a Warlock and a Warrior.
Yeah, I actually saw this situation earlier for Gaara in his last match against Stein, where Gaara essentially had his Shaman banned and his Hunter had already lost. In this case, his Hunter's banned and his Shaman's already lost. That leaves him with a lineup that's very weak to Handlock, honestly. I would not be surprised if we saw Thijs sweep from here with just Warlock. So if I'm Gaara, I think I would go with Zoo.
Yeah, I think you can try Zoo first. The last deck for Thijs is a Warrior. So Zoo, if you win this, can probably 2-0. I don't think that Gaara is out yet. He can still win, but definitely Thijs has an edge with a Handlock. Gaara is playing a Zoo deck. We've seen it before.
So yeah, with Zoo in this matchup, I feel like you just go for it. You don't play around Molten Giant. You just go face and make them have it.
All right, Gaara is searching for the one-drops, Undertaker, Leper Gnome, something to be as aggressive as possible. How do you win this matchup as a Zoo? You just like race and try to kill them before they stabilize?
Hey, just play your hand out and pray that they don't have all the right answers. That's usually the best strategy. This hand needs a 2-mana play. Life tapping is not what you want to be doing in a matchup where getting on board quickly is so important. But Flame Imp is a good start. Definitely one of the better one-drops to have.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage, and there's no good way to answer the Flame Imp. Like, you certainly don't, you don't Soulfire it.
Oh, it's interesting. So Thijs decides not to Soulfire it turn 1. I would have Soulfired it because you can still life tap and play your Giant on curve if that's what you're going for. I guess he has double Drake, so he wants to coin Drake into Drake, so that makes a lot of sense.
He also just picked up a Taunt Giver, which is important.
Just looking at these hands right now, it's going to be, like, because of the double Drake, it's going to let Handlock get a minion out a turn earlier than it normally does, which is so incredibly rare. You have to have coin and both Drakes. But it's going to win him the game because he's just going to be on board as fast or faster than Zoo even.
Well, the Zoo is not that fast anymore because he skipped his turn 2, and Harvest Golem is a good card to have. But you know, that's not that much damage. And Twilight Drake is going to be dropped here.
Alright, so the next few turns for Thijs are pretty mapped out.
Oh, the Defender of Argus, he wanted to play it next turn. If you taunt up a Twilight Drake, that's a 5/9 taunt. It's really tough to deal with.
Absolutely. Now, do you kill the Drake as Gaara? I think you do, because it's so likely that if you leave it alive, it will taunt up in the future anyway, and you're going to have to deal 8 damage to it anyway. So here you have a pretty clean answer. Dark Iron Dwarf, Soulfire. I think it's got to be the play.
Yeah, I like it. You protect your board as well against Shadow Flame, and you're left with a 4/4 and 2/1 token. And whatever is discarded, you don't mind that much. It's fine.
Alright, so Molten Giant. One of the best against Zoo. do need the taunt with it as well, though. It can't just be the Molten.
Do you kill Drake again?
It's not pretty. Maybe you do it with Defender. I hope he doesn't have a Mortal Coil.
Yeah, Undertaker, Defender, buff both Undertaker and Dark Iron, and then kill it with Dark Iron and Token.
You know what I would probably do is I would Defender and just go Fade. I wouldn't even bother with the Drake this time, because this time the Drake isn't like, it doesn't really have a great attack on board. It'll go into a 3-power Harvest Golem.
But then you lose the board with the Shadow Flame, and if you kill the Drake,
that's a good point. Yeah.
You just keep the board and are able to pressure.
We are seeing a lot of Warlocks cutting it down to just one Shadow Flame now, and Thijs hasn't life tapped too much this game. I think only once on turn 2. So it's less likely that he has the Shadow Flame, but still definitely something that Gaara is going to be worried about.
This is a really tough and game-changing decision. And a lot of players are saying that Blue is easy to play, but I disagree. This might change the outcome of this game.
Alright, Face Boys, I like it. This is the play I would have made. I would have liked to see Undertaker next to the Defender, but this is fine as well.
Thijs is a Hellfire. He has a Siphon Soul for the next turn if needed.
Jeez. Well, that's game. That was just the most insane possible turn there.
Oh, wow. And it was played so fast, but a Hellfire, a board clear, and a Molten Giant.
Yep. We're definitely going to see a life tap and a double juggler here. And I know maybe if Thijs doesn't have a taunt, something can be drawn off the top to...
He has a Siphon Soul, so he is killing something and healing at the same time. This Arcane Golem has a lot of promise there.
Oh, I like this play. This is something most players wouldn't do. They just drop the Golem before it's lethal. Okay, Juggler goes to face, which is I think what Gaara would prefer here. Alright, we're going to see a Siphon Soul, and the Giant's going to clear out the Juggler just to not have to worry about any Guard shenanigans.
Thijs is in a position where he doesn't have to rush. He can just clear the board and wait for Jiraxxus. 2 more turns. If you survive 10 more turns, you're in a good position, and still you have an 8-5 on the board.
We're going to see a couple of weak draws from Gaara. He's going to drop what minions he has without Battle Cry and pass the turn back, I think. You want to save that Abusive to potentially sneak in lethal.
You know what? This game is actually pretty close.
If you play Abusive now, you get an extra Juggle, and you still get the 2 damage from it next turn because it's in play. So that's what Gaara is considering right now, is do I just play this as a 2-1?
If you hit the Molten Giant, then it won't be able to effectively trade with either Juggler or Flame Imp.
This is a very tough decision if you're Gaara here. It doesn't seem like a huge deal either way, but it definitely could be the difference between winning and losing.
If this board is cleared, then Abusive Sergeant will be worse next turn. Depends how many Arcane Golems is Gaara playing, but if he's playing Doomguards, and he is playing Doomguards, we know that, then Abusive Sergeant is not buffing the Doomguard anyway.
Exactly. Arcane Golem, though, we've seen a couple times that Gaara's played Zoo, so I'm not sure if he plays 2 of them or just the 1.
And he hits the face.
Okay, I think that's what he preferred.
Farseer is a good pickup. Morrico is perfect. He needs a Taunt Giver. A second Molten Giant.
I don't know if he needs it. Thijs is pretty far ahead at this point.
Oh wow, I think this is over now.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way for Gaara to win.
Just clear the Juggler.
Well, no, okay. He has to draw Soulfire and then life tap into Doomguard. There it is.
What is the card? That's Doomguard.
Oh, okay, this works too. This works too.
And then he needs to life tap into Soulfire.
Oh my god. There's 1 left.
Gaara can actually win this game right now at this spot.
1 outer, 1 in 20 chance.
Well, he has to. This is his last chance. Oh my god, if he actually gets a Soulfire.
You should go out and buy a lottery ticket if he actually gets a Soulfire. Is it the card on top? Here we go.
Can he get a top deck? Does it even work? Oh man. Excitement level he gets for it, and a leper, no. Oh man. How much damage is it? This is 11? Well, it's not lethal. If he trades a 3-2 into the 8-1, deals 5 points of damage. But then there's Jiraxxus next turn, so it's over anyway.
Yep, this game's over.
Oh man, I got excited there. That was tough. A tough call.
It's a struggle. Well, Gaara really only has one play here. You just don't survive if you don't kill the Molten Giant, and then at that point it's a matter of what do you attack, and it just has to be face. It's the only way you can win.
Yeah, you have to go face. You have to assume that there is no Jiraxus, that the cards in your opposing hand are Murako or some blanks, like another Ancient Watch or whatever. But there is Jiraxus, the Eridar Lord of the Burning Legion.
And Gaara's world is doomed. That's gonna put Thijs in the lead for the first time. And yeah, an uphill battle for Gaara.
Oh, a nice play by Thijs, by the way. He is hiding Jiraxus. Not everybody is playing it. Some people are playing Alexstrasza. This is a good call. And Thijs is getting a lead. Gaara is left to with his warrior deck. That's his last deck. He has to win 2-0 to take the series. If he loses this game, he loses the match.
Yep.
And Thijs becomes the new champion.
Now, we were talking just as a team earlier in this tournament, and I was really adamant about Warrior being kind of a mistake to bring. It is a bit of an underpowered class, although it is a good counter to certain things like Dreamhack. Now, we'll see if it can overcome Handlock. It's a matchup that definitely favors the Warlock here. But not unwinnable for Warrior.
Yeah, as a Warrior, you really need the removal. You need Execute, you need Shield Slam, you need something to be able to build up armor. Brawl is pretty important, and the strategy that we were talking to Thijs before when he was playing Warrior versus Ecop's Warlock. Thijs said, you want to be aggressive, you want to force them to play Molten Giants, then you want to brawl the Molten Giants and win through aggression. Let's see if Gaara is able to get a hand that will support his game plan.
As far as opening hands go...
Oh my god, Mindful Attack.
Yep. Oh, that is the best card in Gaara's deck. But yeah, as far as opening hands go, before that Mountain Giant, this was a pretty weak draw from Thijs. If Gaara can avoid seeing just a string of powerful minions from the Warlock, Warrior can definitely get pretty far ahead.
Sludge Burst is a nice card, but he really wants a second Giant or a Twilight Drake, because this one Mountain is going to die.
That Belcher is why this matchup is so much worse than it used to be. It used to be that if Warrior just drew more removal than Handlock drew threats, you could kind of win because Handlock wouldn't be doing much. But now, even if you kill all the Twilight Drakes, you kill all the Mountain Giants, they're still developing minions the entire game, like Sludge Belcher, Loathlight. Those creatures are too big to ignore.
Also, Gaara picks up an Execute, a fantastic card this matchup. He was thinking about playing Mind Control Tech, by the way. Is there a way for Mind Control Tech to be good in this matchup?
Well, yeah, there's always a way. They just have to have 4 creatures and a bit of good RNG. But yeah, it can definitely pull some weight.
So Gaara's keeping it for late game?
I think so, yeah. In that situation you were mentioning earlier where Molten Giants get dropped, you know, in a lot of cases, your opponent will have like a Sun Fury or an Ancient Watcher, some other minions on board. It's not really a card you generally play around. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mind Control Tech...
Especially in Warrior, it's surprising. I've seen Mind Control Tech before in a Paladin deck, and even in a Priest, but not in a Warrior. So Thijs somehow is playing around the big hunter.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see an Acolyte this turn.
Oh, an Armor Smith as well.
Do you play the Armor Smith? I think so.
How important armor is in this matchup?
It makes your shield slams relevant. There are a lot of situations, for example, where if I'm the Warlock, I'll just Soulfire face just to blank shield slam early on in the game.
Yeah, I think like this is the importance. Like having the life total is not that important because if you lose the board, the Giants they just kill you in 2 turns. But shield slam is one of the first cards here.
Gaara sequencing this perfectly in a way that lets him maximize armor, because you'd always prefer to have armor rather than health to maximize the efficacy of your shield slams. So expect to just see a Mountain Giant here out of Thijs. Maybe you play Loatheb, but
Loatheb is a possibility. Because if you play a Mountain Giant, you're vulnerable to both Big Hunter and the Executes. You're safe. Are you safe from Shield Slam?
The thing is, the Giant's always going to die to those cards, right? It's not like holding on to it is going to make it immune to Big Game Hunter later. So, in some sense, it makes some sense to like play it earlier to just make them have it at least.
what about Hellfire? You just Hellfire here to get rid of an armor and be able to deal with Acolyte as well.
That's not a bad play at all. Yeah, I like Hellfire here as well. You deny the extra draw from Acolyte to the Warrior. Denying draw is important because Thijs agrees with you. Every single card that the Warrior gets him closer to Shield Slam, gets him closer to Executes.
Also, what Warrior needs, he needs the combo. He doesn't need the like Straza because Warlock will be going down anyway, but you want to have Grimage, you want to have Lip Spite. So basically, the more cards Warrior has, the better for him.
Gaara's hand is pretty good, honestly, for this matchup. It's not usually the case that you draw Big Game Hunter, double Execute, your Shield Slams. It's very strong.
I would call it a reactive hand, but he has Grimage as well, and he just dropped the weapon.
Yeah, if you're going to win this game against Warlock, it is, like Thijs mentioned earlier, it's by being aggressive, it's by drawing Grimage and just making them have the taunt every turn or die.
I think you do tap and drop a Mountain Giant. Like, you can't play around Big Game Hunter forever. This Big Game Hunter is going to kill one of their Giants anyway.
I agree. Are we really going to see an Ancient Watcher? He does have the Owl for it. I'm a fan of saving Owl against Warrior for their Sylvanas usually, but I could see him playing Watcher here, maybe.
It must be such an awkward matchup for Thijs, because Thijs was practicing Warrior a lot, so he knows how Warrior works, and he's trying to backtrack. How would he play as a Warrior and apply strategy to play around it?
The fact that Thijs is even thinking about this play means he's convinced that Gaara has a Big Game Hunter in hand. Which is interesting because, you know, it's generally only a 1-of. You wouldn't normally play around it, but, you know, in this case, it's working out for sure.
But isn't that good playing around it and just keeping the Giant?
I'm not sure.
You have to play it at some point.
I mean, it would be such a big tempo swing in Gaara's favor if he were to play it early, because then he'd also have a 4-2 to deal with. You know, Jungle Panther is not a small minion, so it makes some sense to wait and get it Big Game Huntered later when you have other board presence.
He picks up a Twilight Drake, which is resistant to Big Game Hunter, but not resistant to Execute. So what do you do if you really don't want to play the Mountain Giant? You have to play something else.
I kind of like Lotheb here.
Lotheb is decent.
It does just die to the Deathbite, but that would take care of a lot of armor. I might just get Shield Slam too, though.
Is there any reason not to play the Twilight Drake as well? Like lifetime into Twilight Drake?
It's just less mana efficient, but maybe it's just better.
You want to exhaust the removal. Like, you want to start playing minions, so the Warrior starts using his Executes and Shield Slams. It's only 4 cards, and you have more threats than 5.
So many possibilities.
This is interesting. Is he going to play it and then Sun Fury the Watcher? He is.
Oh wow, even on both of them. No respect for Black Knight there. Alright. So we are getting closer to the Mind Control deck.
Definitely just armor up, Shield Slam the 4/9 here. Drop your Acolyte, attack the Watcher. Very clean kill. No, you have to Shield Slam first. He's gonna use Execute instead.
Oh!
He knew. He did have 2 shield blockers. This makes sense as well. You know, I understand why he did this. The Shield Slam works on its own, whereas he doesn't actually have an enabler for Execute after that Deathbite. He doesn't have a cool Taskmaster right now, so Gaara's play actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, also, after the clear, your armor is pretty much safe, and you know that you will be armoring up every turn after that. Unless you get the big guys, like Sarah or maybe Ragnaros. So Thijs being super passive, it doesn't pay off. He lost the board. What do you do now?
Well, you life tap and pray, I guess. Oh, if he plays Giant, this is so far behind. Wow.
Well, he's forced to play it at this point.
He could have played Lotheb instead, but yeah, that Giant is going to get him extremely far behind to a BGH. Although, drawing Ysera is very interesting. You haven't seen a Siphon Soul yet, but maybe you just play it to be mana efficient. A lot of times when you play Warrior versus Warlock, you just never have a chance to play Ysera.
I think it's still BGH.
Yeah, I just can't let the 8/8 live for a turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And you can protect your Belcher. Still maybe shield block anyway. So like shield block first, see what you get. And then
BGH armor.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I like that.
Kill it now. Even attack for free. I'm not sure if you attack.
You definitely BGH, right? Like you don't shield slam.
By the way, shield slam was also an enabler for Grommash. So
That's a good point. Yeah, another reason to hold on.
now he has a Taskmaster. 10 mana next turn.
Bring the pain.
I think, yeah, you can kill it now, but you don't. He has lethal next turn. Easily.
He does.
Is there a way for Thijs not to lose this game?
Well, taunts pretty much. It's exactly what he needs right now. Wow. And his Gaara's hand is so good still, even after having to deal with so much stuff.
He has everything. He has the finishing move, he has his win condition, he has the removal cards. Like, even if everything is out, he still has Ysera to win the long game in the control matchup.
You can see his mouse pointer being a little shaky. Maybe it's nervous. You know, he's playing up on the big stage. It's professional Hearthstone at its finest.
Well, I have to say, this tournament is sponsored by Nescafé, and he had a lot of coffee this tournament.
Ah, is that what gave him the jitters? He also had a lot of Red Bull as well. That's it. Hard to turn it down, you know. So, it's not quite lethal, but a decent turn for Ysera.
He even got a brawl, come on.
Yeah,
That's a perfect turn. Like, Ysera an empty board in the control battle.
it's all of his best cards except for the second shield slam.
This is getting a Siphon Soul. And you can still play a Molten. Molten is a Siphon Soul.
Yeah, I think I like the Molten a little more than the Drake here. I mean, the Drake will be smaller in the future because you're playing 2 cards first. But you will heal up, so playing the Molten is going to be a little bit more awkward.
It really depends on what you expect to be played. It's still in Gaara's hand. Is there an Execute? Is there a Shield Slam?
Interesting. So yeah, Thijs also had the option there to life tap the Molten Giant. So at this point, he's actually valuing his life total very high. He doesn't want to take that extra 2 damage for the card.
All right. So do you? Yeah, like Gaara is super safe. 38 points of health, counting armor.
I would shield slam and play the mind control tech, the Laughing Sister, and the Armor Smith here.
I agree.
You don't want to use your Taskmaster to execute unless you absolutely have to, because it's your best enabler for Grommash.
Shield Slam is decent, and you just spawn a board and set up lethal next turn. And you still have an Execute.
Is there trouble?
All right, there's trouble. Time for Mind Control Tech and Armor Smith.
So Thijs knows that this is not Ysera Awakens or Dream. By the way, one of the most beautiful finishers is Grommash into Ysera Awakens.
Yeah, it's brutal.
5 damage board, 5 damage hero, 10 damage Grommash. Is he going to show the mind control deck, by the way? Because at this point of the game, he has a lot of advantage, and he knows that he will be playing the same deck for the last game deciding match, so maybe there is a reason behind the situation. Deciding show.
Yeah, I still like playing it, honestly. It's just, I want to make sure I win this game.
Yeah. Your life is on the line. You really need to win this game.
All right, well, hey, there's no more taunts for Thijs, so I do think that's going to be game. Grommash Cruel Taskmaster is going to close it out regardless of, well, not regardless.
Both up into Shadow Flame.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. I guess he's going to go for that play. It must be what he was leaning towards. I was thinking Loatheb Drake, but it's not in that order clearly. But
Mountain Giant Shadow Flame?
is that better? Maybe that's better. Playing Giant later is going to be not impossible if you don't. Yeah, so yeah, this makes sense.
Also, yeah, that's mana efficient, and I agree. Yeah, it's good.
There's also Jiraxis, which is actually really strong against Warrior. If the game goes long, if it goes to late stages like this, oh man, that Jiraxis next turn is going to be so good. Thijs might win this game still.
Yeah, this game is far from over. I think Thijs needs a Taunt Giver.
Just attack. You just Grommash and hit him.
I'm not sure you do this. I think you just play Taskmaster now, Mara.
Why not Gromosh and Taskmaster right now?
And just deal 10 points of damage.
12.
12. Well, Jaraxxus won win that, but you don't have a way to finish the game there. I would be afraid of that. If there's a Siphon Soul...
You've already seen one, though.
You've seen one.
And even if he plays the second one, he still did all the damage it would ever do. The full 20.
I would definitely play one of those masters before.
Ooh, that's a great draw. Perfect.
I have no time for games.
Yeah. So, Thijs is finally going to develop the board, only to face Sylvanas off the top from Gaara. And there is no Iron Beak.
Well, there's no clean answer for this. Now you do have, you know, Twilight Drake Mortal Coil. Maybe play Watcher to potentially have Gaara steal that. Is that better than...
I think you can still light up first. Putting yourself on 14 is not terrible.
I agree. This is just not a Jaraxxus turn either way, huh? Gaara desperately wants a weapon, just some way to deal a little bit more damage.
And just set himself up for the next turn, where he can deal 12 with Gromosh Taskmaster, and maybe 3 more with Fireworks, whatever.
Ooh, that's a great draw for Thijs there. So that's going to give him basically... It's going to get all the Molten Giants out of his deck, so after he plays Jaraxxus at some point, he won't have any dead draws.
Oh wow. He's going to...
He's going for the 50-50.
He's going for the 50-50. Well, this might be game. If he misses... Oh! And there is a Siphon Soul as well! Oh my god.
Best RNG.
That was super close.
Wow.
That game would be over there. Almost over. Like, if it would be Lothar, he would be just dead. Ragnaros is a good card to get. But are you forced to brawl? I guess you do.
That's not bad. I guess that's the advantage of having a Watcher. You can get a better brawl. Okay.
Wow, Watcher wins!
Watcher always wins.
So what is left?
Wins the Sylvanas, so wins the brawl.
Oh man. Guess it don't give her. I guess you Jaraxxus and close your eyes.
Alright, Jaraxxus boys. That Defender's a clutch draw, so is the Siphon Soul. Both very important. For the rest of the game, he's going to be making 6/6s, and it's up to Gaara to see if he can keep up with that while somehow still killing his opponent.
Gaara is still comfortable on 42 points of health, 39 now.
Yep, it's more about the board control though. He's already played Brawl. If those Infernals get out of hand, the game will end. I think it's easy Ragnaros here, isn't it?
I think so.
Or maybe Gromosh now. Ragnaros the turn after.
Gromosh now and then execute and try to win with Ragnaros. I think it's fine.
I like it.
You've seen most of the threats already. You know that what Thijs can do is only hero power, create a 6/6.
Alright, the two class legendaries face off. And Gromosh asserting dominance over Jaraxxus.
Is Garrosh fit to rule the Horde?
It's usually pretty good when your life total sets to 15 and you have a 12-point burst. Doesn't usually favor Jaraxxus.
Oh man.
Well, that is a Sludge Belcher. Does that help at all?
I don't think it changes that much.
Well, if you siphon Belcher and then
you don't have 11 points of mana. Like Siphon and Belcher is.
oh yeah, sorry.
But that would be good. That would change.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Like it seems like he's.
It's been a long weekend.
Right, and that's like last series, so we're almost there. If Gaara wins this, he will tie up the series again, and we'll go into game number.
Number 7 for a word if Gaara wins. That is
one of the best series I've seen in my life. Is he committing Sudoku? Oh no, that was the Siphon Soul. And one but I was thinking he's attacking into that.
Wow, so Soul Firing on the 2/2 only plays around. It only plays around the execute, but it's gonna work. Okay, so Gaara doesn't have a guaranteed lethal here. Let's see what he drew. Belcher of his own. Okay, I like the Rag anyway. You've seen two Siphons, there's not much that can go wrong here.
Okay, 50-50. Is Gaara going to win this match, this game?
Oh,
he hits!
All right.
So we have a tie.
What a series, 3-3 now.
Oh man, we are going to see a warrior mirror to decide this amazing series.
I can't think of a more fitting way to end the tournament. You know, warrior mirrors, very long games, a lot of chances for mistakes and ways to outplay your opponent. So I do think that a lot of it comes down to deck building. You know, who has the greedier list, more late game, will definitely give you an advantage. But a lot of it is in how you play the game. And the better player tends to win the warrior mirror quite a bit.
Yeah, and Gaara is certainly a very good warrior player, but Thijs was already known as a warrior master, and he practices a lot before.
So I know that Gaara built his warrior deck with the idea of beating Zoo in mind quite a bit. So generally that means he's going to have more early game cards like Unstable Ghoul. Thijs also has those cards, of course. But what that's going to mean is more early game is generally worse for the warrior mirror. You want really greedy late game cards. You want like Deathwing, you want Elixraza, you want Cairn, Sylvanas. You see a lot of people cutting Cairn lately, for example, which is one of the best cards in the warrior mirror. So we'll see, you know, what the late game looks like for these guys.
Did Thijs mention that his warrior is actually fit to fight aggro decks as well?
I'm not sure. So we have a very fast draw from Gaara. Not bad. I mean, I don't like playing Ghoul here, just in a potential axe, but I think I like playing Armorsmith. Armorsmith into Ghoul into Acolyte.
Is there any reason to keep the coin?
I don't think so. Now we do see a Harrison Jones in Thijs' hand, and Harrison is such a swingy card.
Yeah.
It's definitely exactly what he wants in a matchup like this. You get incremental value. It gives you such a lead the turn that you play it.
You can remove, there are weapons, like, there's a lot of weapons in the decks. I'm not sure if anybody's playing Gorhal, but the Fireworks, Death Spite, those are the staple cards.
You know, I think Gaara is going to save the Acolyte for the Unstable Ghoul turn. He's going to play them both at the same time, so that any weapon dealing with that would give Gaara a 2-for-1.
I like it. We can already see a lot of endgame cards for Thijs. There is Ragnas, there is Holger, a lot of legendary cards. Both players are playing Gaara. So, yeah.
I destroyed Hogger in the tutorial.
You just destroyed Hogger? Did he cheat?
I think he did, actually.
Illidan was tough. Definitely overbarred.
Alright, so he's not going to save it for the Ghoul. He's just going to allow it to die to a weapon.
I like killing Acolyte. You want to deny the draw as much as possible. Even if your opponent gets 1 armor, that's fine. Execute. Like, removal cards are so important because there's a lot of endgame going on, and you want to force your opponent to use Execute and other removal cards. Cards like Sludge Belcher, maybe even Harrison. So when you drop a Ragnaros, they say, oh, that happened.
I like this play. He's going to get Harrison, but the Harrison will go to 3 health because of the Death Spite Death Rattle. It'll then die to, you know, Execute, War Axe, whatever Gaara wants.
But on the other hand, it's good for Thijs anyway. You develop a 5-4, and that's a cantrip. But maybe, yeah, I'm not sure the Sludge Belcher is actually better there. Sludge Belcher would just die to the weapon anyway, so I think Harrison.
Absolutely, even get to kill the Armorsmith next to it, it's definitely a play. Well, just looking at the hands and the Harrison that was just played, I would definitely rather be in Thijs' position from here. Gaara's going to be fighting a very uphill battle from here on out.
He has a lot of removal cards and reactive cards. He doesn't have legendaries yet.
You really want to be the one being proactive in this matchup. Cards like Execute are fine, but all the legendaries get value even if they get killed. So playing removal or keeping cards like Execute, for example, is not a winning strategy in the Warrior Mirror. You want to be the one deploying threats. You want to be playing Sludge Belchers, you want to be playing Cairns, cards like that.
So right now it looks like Thijs has an advantage over Gaara, but we've seen this situation already in the first game of the series, Shaman to Shaman, where we thought Gaara was losing, but in the end he actually won. So Holger in the final, I'm excited!
I wonder if Gaara plays Deathwing. It's a bit of a team fight card for us. I played it in Warrior in Gaara played it in Paladin in
WCA.
The WCA, yeah. Alright, gonna armor up, deal with Auger, and back to armoring up, passing classic warrior on warrior stuff.
Alright, you want to develop something. Ragnaros is going to hit the board next turn and just clear all the armor.
That's very important. It's gonna make the shield slams not too effective at dealing with the rag. There isn't really a clean way to deal with this, but I like Unstable Duel Acolyte. This is fine too. I think I would armor instead of Taskmaster, but ooh, wow, Gaara does play Hearthstone. Okay, so this is huge.
This is huge, yeah. I mean, you are only drawing one card mostly from Hearthstone, but still, the card is fantastic in this matchup. Oh wow, he played around Ragnaros. So what do? You have to silence the Acolyte, or do you?
You don't have to. I mean, it kind of hurts to, right? You're gonna lose the creature to the Unstable Duel. That silence is so important for cards like Sylvanas, maybe Karen, just so many potential legendaries the Gaara could play later on. That he doesn't really want to use the owl to just deny one extra draw, but he might go with it. Two draws, really. I think it's worth it, but it
yeah,
hurts.
I think it's worth it. I wouldn't execute the Acolyte for sure.
I might. It's really not that bad. Execute is surprisingly not as good as it used to be in the Warrior Mirror.
Alright, so it's mostly about what do you want to do with Sylvanas, if Sylvanas is even played in the deck. And you know it is.
Well, he's just going to give Gaara the cards. Okay. So if this comes down to fatigue, Gaara is now much further in his deck and be fatiguing earlier. But until that point, he's going to have more cards to work with.
That's so incredible that in this matchup you can actually go to fatigue and make plays to try to kill your opponent with fatigue overall. I mean, like, just exhaust all the removal cards, because those players have a certain amount of removal and threats. If everything is down to the last card, the player who starts taking fatigue damage might lose first.
Absolutely. We actually see Warrior Mirrors in tournament play, at least, come down to fatigue in almost every case. You know, it's very rare that somebody just gets stomped because of the lack of proactive targeting. You don't usually see an aggressive draw. Both decks have a lot of ways to slow the game down. Both decks have very few threats. So because of that, it'll almost always be just a card-to-card exchange. And the person that traded more efficiently throughout the course of the game will just have maybe one more creature to work with at the end to win.
And especially with those two players, Thijs and Gaara, making no mistakes, like we've seen in the Shaman game, where it was definitely card for card, the last card in both decks.
Absolutely. This Ragnaros flip, if he decides to go for it, is so huge, because the difference between getting that 2-for-1 off of killing Lotheb and hitting the face is astronomical.
Is there any merit in just killing the Lotheb and then playing Ragnaros and going for a sure way to clear the armor and still protecting your Ragnaros with a Sludge Belcher token?
I like giving myself the opportunity to get the 2-for-1 because I do think it is an attrition matchup. I like the 50% chance to just pick up a free 5/5, but I see the merit in your play as well. It's going to take out the armor, for example. Well, yeah. My play also takes out the armor if it doesn't kill Lotheb.
I think I would, like myself, I will go for the 50-50, but he certainly has a possibility to limit the RNG. So Thijs is thinking about it. Thijs is one of the unluckiest players with RNG, but he was pretty lucky against the dogs.
Wow!
So he goes for the certain way to...
That's like a guaranteed loss on the flip. It's like choosing to lose the flip. I'm not a big fan of that play. That might cost him in the end. We'll see. 50% chance it didn't matter, to be fair. But let's say Lotheb lives. It would still attack in a Sludge Belcher. The same trade still happened. You know, the 2/2 would still pick up the Lotheb the turn after.
Maybe he's playing around Black Knight, but I don't think there is a space for Black Knight in Gaara's deck.
So, how much do you like Sylvanas here?
Can you utilize Sylvanas to do something with her?
Yeah, he has a Ragnaros in play. I like it. I would just play it.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
I don't like using... I mean, Ragnaros, to be fair, is one of the better execute targets. But if you play it here, you don't really have any way to develop the board well. I mean, you can play a Sludge Belcher, I guess, if you go for the execute play. Maybe that's worth it. Really up to Gaara. Honestly, a tough call.
You can always play Sludge Belcher the next turn if you want to.
let's say he does play Sylvanas. What if Ragnaros shoots him in the face?
What if there's a silence still?
Exactly. What if there's silence? What if
I
Ragnaros
have no time for games.
It's easily go wrong. He's going to go for it.
Do you armor up or do you play armor smith? You want the Ragnaros to hit Sylvanas. Alright. If it hits armor smith, it's fine for you as well. It's just the armor smith will tank 8 points of damage. There is a silence.
Alright, I expect to see Owl for sure. The question is, what is Thijs going to play on top of that?
Can you play Lothar and ensure the win?
You can play Gromosh and kill Armorsmith. It's not as bad as it sounds. The burst later on is probably more valuable to get through the armor when it comes down to fatigue races. I wonder if these players play Alexstrasza. You know, that's a card we saw. It was almost ubiquitous in all warrior decks for the longest time, but I haven't seen either player draw it yet. Maybe that's what they cut to fit in things like Harrison Jones,
Sarah. Yeah.
Sarah, yeah, exactly.
There is only space for one dragon in warrior decks. You do shield block first, because you will shield block anyway. Silence to Vanis. Do you shield slam? 5 points of mana?
I think so.
You do shield slam and develop something like Axlight.
Yeah, Armorsmith armor is actually pretty solid as well. Like, armor is surprisingly relevant in a matchup that's so slow, because armor, you know, unlike health, isn't affected by Alexstrasza, which often does happen, like we're talking about, and it just gives you that much more life to work with when it comes down to fatigue.
He hits face, which is bad for Gaara. That Armorsmith didn't do much, but there is a Brawl pickup.
I would go for it.
I would go for it. You have an Armorsmith. Armorsmith always survives.
I would count the cards in the deck first. There's sometimes merit to forcing the opposing warrior to draw off Acolyte, but in this case, Thijs doesn't have many cards. You probably don't want to do that.
Yeah, you just go for face, you brawl, and then if Ragnar survives, you can still execute it if you want to. Gaara has an advantage with cards. He doesn't have much life, but if he wins the board,
it's as good as Brawl as you're usually going to get.
What is it? Is the Ragnar going to survive? No, the Armorsmith survived!
Hey.
KitKats didn't lie! Officially! Temple Storm KitKats.
Alright, it's Belcher time. Well, that was a good brawl. That may have just completely swung the game.
That was a fantastic brawl. Gaara is back in the game.
Ragnaros lived for 2 turns. He got 16 damage off. That's so hard to come back from. I mean, that damage is value. It's like a Pyroblast and a half that he drew. So that brawl actually kind of turned that back around. He managed to answer it without having to commit one of his executes, and got value out of a card that's not that easy to get value out of in this matchup.
Well, right now it's more about board control. Gaara has more cards. He has the board. 16 points of health is not bad, I'd say. It's still a lot. You're not dead to Gromosh, and you will be armoring up from this point.
Absolutely. And, you know, Thijs' hand is pretty weak, honestly. He doesn't really want to play these minions. They just kind of die on board. And drawing Unstable Ghoul is one of the weaker draws he could have had. The Gromosh he doesn't want to play until it's lethal. You don't really want to play that defensively. The Execute has no enablers aside from the Unstable Ghoul. His hand is really weak right now. I'm
definitely agreeing with you. I'm giving edge to Gaara. After that brawl, it seems like he is in a saddle. And he still has Sergeant Jones for a possible weapon draw.
Okay, so you can make some cheeky plays here. Taskmaster your own Sludge Belcher, trade in, something like that. Probably better just to execute his guy, though.
I like it. You have a second Sludge Belcher anyway.
Sludge Belchers are important, though. I like using Execute and keeping the minion. I think it's a lot better, personally. He's going to go with this, though. Can't fault him for that. Still a good play.
He's also getting help for that.
Nagars, you can see him not playing Sludge Belcher here because he's afraid of Brawl himself. He doesn't want to let that Brawl get too much value.
Well, there's no Brawl, but Thijs is picking up a shield block.
Ooh, that's a great draw. So you can just, you play all of it, right? I mean, double Armorsmith.
Double Armorsmith and Ghoul. It's not threatening the board, but it's giving you so much armor.
So much armor. That's so relevant when it comes down to fatigue. Every point of armor is so valuable.
But whatever happens, Gaara is getting a lot of armor himself.
That's a good point. Not double Armorsmith armor, though. Like, double Armorsmith is so absurd. It gets very out of hand very quickly. I mean, let's say Gaara has to attack 2 minions into that Unstable Ghoul. How much armor is that going to be? It's going to be 4 plus like 8 armor just from Unstable Ghoul dying.
Oh man, this is insane. He's going for it.
Alright, he doesn't have much after that though.
This looks really weird because we have to start thinking about fatigue.
Absolutely.
How many cards do they have still? Mind control tag.
Almost.
Missing 1 minion on board.
At a certain point, that Harrison's going to be a bad play because you just don't want to draw more cards.
Yeah. So what do you do? Are you forced to actually clear this?
I think you have to attack, right? If you don't attack, he gains even more armor by attacking into your 1 power minions.
Can you shield block first? Try to get a weapon, maybe?
That's probably the play. How many weapons does he have left? 2, I think. I've seen 1 Despite, 1 War Axe.
Yeah, then 1 War Axe, 1 Despite. But then again, you draw another card. You're getting closer to fatigue.
Gotta play that shield block sometime, though. Ooh, counter Unstable Ghoul.
No, you have to kill the ghoul, I believe. But you don't execute it. I guess you attack with Armor Smith to ghoul.
Oh, that's not pretty. You have to lose your Taskmaster. Oh wow, maybe you just play Belcher and just let him gain infinite armor. Oh, that's so.
Well, the good thing for Gaara is that Thijs only has 2 cards in hand. Even though he's going to get so much life / armor.
This is so awkward. Like all of his plays are so awkward. I don't know what I would do. I would likely play Sludge Belcher and just pass right here and not make any attack.
Yeah, that would be a reasonable play as well. You do play Sludge Belcher now. Alright, up or up, and this game looks weird.
Yep. So Thijs is down on cards, but he's about to be extremely far ahead on life. That's so much armor to work with. Both players have quite a bit, but you know, picking up an extra 6 this turn with the hero power is nothing to sneeze at. Ooh, that's not what he wanted.
Yeah, but now you can definitely use one of them.
Just on the Belcher?
Yeah, try to limit the damage.
Oh man, are we willing to lose the Armor Smith though?
Or can you? Maybe you just keep it, because you should expect the Sarah to come at some point.
What about just playing Gromosh for board control?
Just attacking into the Sludge Belcher?
Eh.
I would be afraid to do it. I'm not that experienced with this matchup. Make this call.
You pretty much play it as a 2-for-1, I think. I mean, you know, your opponent's at 50 life. You're not going to use it to burst them, so.
So I guess you're winning this matchup with Viscera anyway.
Yeah, you could also do nothing and just kind of wait. Maybe you draw Brawl. You're forcing the Belcher to attack your Armor Smiths anyway. There's no reason to make an awkward play just yet.
So just armor up and pass.
Yeah, because otherwise you're attacking Armor Smith into his minion, which is the same exact attack that he's going to make for you if you wait. And if you wait a turn, you're a card deeper, maybe you draw a cleaner answer.
Yeah, but this is tough, and it only proves the Hearthstone is really complicated when it comes to small decisions. What is better? What is not? And what do you do in this situation?
Yeah, Belcher's going to take out an Armor Smith, and we are definitely looking at a solid draw from Gaara. That Gromosh is going to give him some pressure. I wouldn't fault him for just throwing it out, honestly.
And then just attacking for, like, you don't do you even attack?
Just kill the Armor Smith, yeah. Or attack face, one of the two. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's a tough call.
I think you can attack face. I would be afraid of execute.
Holding it's probably better, so you can kill something with it, so it's just a guaranteed 2-for-1. Whereas now, if you play it and he has the removal spell, you just kind of lose your threat.
I think you can also develop the mind control tag. Like, I wouldn't assume that the card will be used.
I'd give Thijs a lot of respect. He saw the mind control tag. I don't think he'll play into it unless he absolutely has to. So I would also play the mind control tag just to get another minion out there.
He finally gets Sarah. So this is the first Sarah that's going to see the play. And
this is basically the best card in the mirror.
I don't think there is a reason not to play it right now. Unless you play Gromosh and try to beta removal.
And then play Sarah.
And then play Sarah.
That's a smart play. I like that actually.
The Sarah will be more important than Grom. Grom is only 10 points of damage, and that's it.
Let's see if he agrees with us and decides to go with that play.
Is there any reason to use Execute on this Sludge Belcher? I don't think so. It's only 3 points of health. It's not representing that much. And if you play Grom, you can still attack even into the token and get 1 more armor.
Alright, he's just going to go with the Sarah. It's very important which card he gets. Dream and Nightmare are the 2 worst. All the other ones are pretty strong, honestly. Oh, the best.
The best one.
So I execute. I already had one, but
You already had one, so it was easy, but still, that card was important.
so yeah, he actually has the Sarah Awakens Grommash combo we were talking about earlier.
Oh wow.
The dream,
It's still 36 points of health. for
literal
Gaara.
dream.
What now?
Oh wow, that happened. That was my joke, come on.
You gotta be fast, man. Otherwise, we'll get to the puns before you.
Alright.
So Execute's gonna take out Ysera. Now Gaara's left with the option to play Mind Control Tech again. I really don't like holding on to it. I think you just drop it here. Start chipping away at armor.
Yeah, the card will be useless with only 4 cards in your opposing hand. You have to assume that that's removal.
Maybe he's playing around Onyxia from the opposing warrior deck. Onyxia's not bad. When Warrior Control was first being refined by a lot of players, I was actually playing Onyxia as a finisher.
I know. Onyxia was being played at the beginning of Hearthstone. Like many players played it, her in Shaman, and we've seen her from time to time.
It's not bad. It's like a neutral scenarios.
They're just armor up and pass.
You're taking a lot of free damage that way. It's not something you want to do, and Gaara's not going to commit more into a brawl. I would actually just play the Ysera Awakens.
I think the more you wait, the better for you, being Thijs. Like, look at the decks.
No, that's a very good point.
Gaara's deck looks thin. We actually missed how many cards there is, but...
What about just playing? I know you don't want to play more stuff because of the brawl, that's right. So yeah, he's just going to pass back, keep getting the free damage. You know, letting Gaara draw is fine and all because he gets closer to fatigue, but I don't... At the cost of 6 life per turn and Gaara gaining 2, I don't know.
I mean, you're not gaining... it's like 4 points of health because you're armoring up as well.
It's a
But
good
still.
point. Yeah. Alright, slowly but surely. The thing is, he has to deal with these minions eventually either way. You cannot just ignore them. So even if Gaara goes to fatigue, he still wins the fatigue race until these 2 are dealt with. And at that point, Gaara plays more minions after the first 2 are dealt with.
Look at this. The life totals just... they're just switching.
After getting Harrison Jones, Gaara is just chipping away, getting so much free damage on Thijs. Oh, oh man, the Sylvanas Ysera combo. That's so good.
Sylvanas is nice. Oh. Okay, there is Sarah.
I don't think you want to play that while there's a Sylvanas in play, huh?
Yeah, but this matchup is so intense. I mean, they play around specific cards, and Thijs no, just armoring up and passing. He's waiting for the Sylvanas. Now do you even play Sarah? Like, do you just kill Sylvanas and develop an Sarah? Or do you wait and try to bait out the removal with Flash again?
There's a big opportunity cost in missing out on 6. You definitely want to attack phase here, I think. Especially if you're Gaara. Your own deck has you on a clock. You need to kill your opponent. Acolyte of Pain, Whirlwind, these are not cards you want to see at this stage of the game for sure. A lot of times, if Acolyte of Pain is drawn late game, you don't even play it in the Warrior Mirror. You just don't want to draw more cards.
There's so many calculations going on right now. You have to count the possible damage you can deal. Fatigue, armor up. Sylvanas is doing some work, stopping the damage now. Iron big pickup. Well, you can silence Sylvanas if you really want to.
I think I would save the Owl.
Is there any other target you want to silence? You've seen Sarah being killed.
Well, you can deal with the Sylvanas on board, right? You just run your minions in. You don't want to lose your minions, but it's an option.
What now?
Does this mean he is going to Owl? I think it does.
Owl and kill it with a stuff.
He agrees with you. All right, and then I think we're seeing a Sarah. Or nothing. Oh, I like this too. Really slow playing it. He's going to make that brawl completely useless for Thijs. Thijs has drawn so many cards. He's playing nothing. Gaara has the read. He knows the brawl is in Thijs' hand for sure.
And this is really warrior versus warrior. Both guys just standing there, a lot of armor, just doing small damage.
You know, Gaara and I, just the team in general, we talk about like theoretical strengths and weaknesses. And Gaara feels really comfortable in control mirrors above all else. He feels like he'll never lose like a ramp mirror match or like Priest versus Priest. And his results in tournaments have reflected that. Anytime he's gotten Priest versus Priest in WCA, for example, or in this case Warrior versus Warrior, I feel like he didn't misplay anywhere. Just solid play the entire way through. He's really confident in how to play these slower matchups.
Well, right now Thijs can clear the board with Slam, not draw a card, which is good. I don't draw any cards. Thijs has actually 5 cards left, and Gaara has what, 7? That's weird. Or is it
Interesting.
2? Did you see that?
I think it's 2.
I think it's 2 as well.
All right, so at this point, Thijs is thinking, hey, I want to leave these little minions in place so my brawl is better, but, Gaara is clearly playing around it. Let's just deal with these minions with the whirlwind, maybe.
Okay, Gaara has only 2 cards. The last card in his deck, he has to use what he has right now to win. Are we going to see armor up, fatigue damage, armor up, fatigue damage, armor up, fatigue damage finish?
You know what I would like to see here? I would like to see Unstable Ghoul Hero Power go.
And attack, obviously.
Yeah, and I think if Gaara's going to be consistent with how he's been playing this, he's going to go for that. But maybe now that, fatigue is a threat, maybe he doesn't want to go that route anymore. So yeah, Thijs decided to slow play his removal. Didn't really deal with the Mind Control tech or the Sludge Belcher with his Ysera Awakens immediately. And he took something like 18 or 24 free points of damage, and he's really getting punished for it now because the game has gotten to this fatigue point that was expected in the beginning. And he just has so much less armor to work with, even though he had that insane double armor smith turn earlier on.
But the life totals are still similar. Thijs is, what, 34? And Gaara has 48. So Gaara obviously has an advantage, but it's not a difference of 20 points of health.
I'm not convinced he doesn't play Ysera yet. Or, excuse me, Eldrazi yet. He is just going to drop the Ysera, so, okay. He feels like the pressure's on, got to drop a threat. Execute's going to...
Execute is going to deal with this Ysera easily.
You don't really want to slam, though, because you draw a card, so what do you play? You just take the damage with War Axe? That's the most awkward hand.
You might be forced to slam.
And Gaara being really careful to just play Ysera on an empty board so as not to risk it dying to Brawl. He's been, of course, counting. He knows that 2 Executes are in Thijs' hand, but Execute is going to take an Enabler card. And quite frankly, Thijs doesn't have a great one right now. Best case scenario, he can take 4 damage and deal with it, and that's not great when you're fighting a fatigue battle. Your armor is so valuable.
Also, Fireworks represents 6 points of damage, so I'm not sure what is better here. Weapons will be really important when they go to fatigue, if there are no taunts.
Absolutely.
Gaara is going to draw his last card, and fatigue will start ticking from next turn.
They're both extremely low on threats at this point.
Ooh, Ragnaros. That's a damage swing. And he has Ysera Awakens as well. Oh my god.
How much is Ysera Awakens Grillmosh next turn? That's 15, right?
That's 15 points of damage. So do you just drop Ragnaros in here, deal 8.
It's so tempting to Harrison to just deny that War Axe charge, but depending on how many turns of fatigue it's going to be, let's say the game lasts for 6 more turns. Playing that Harrison is making you take 7 damage. So, depending on how long Gaara thinks the game will last, he has to evaluate how big of a drawback drawing a card is right now.
Also, Ragnaros has 1 shadow following him, which is Faceless Manipulator. If Thijs is playing Faceless, then just chop with Ragnaros.
That's a good point.
It's not the best thing to do.
That would give him a big game hunter target, but I agree with you. That would definitely be a blowout. I like playing the Unstable Ghoul earlier when he traded against that Acolyte. If he was playing Ysera that turn, Gaara played it perfectly, and it was probably the best turn to do it. But man, if he did go with the Unstable Ghoul play, Thijs would be a lot closer to fatigue at this point.
Can you clearly say who has an advantage right now in this game? Because
no idea. I've watched so many.
I have no idea as well.
I've watched so many Warrior Mirrors in tournaments, and at the end, it's sometimes it comes down to rag flips. Sometimes you just never know. It's so different every time until you see the very last card being played.
I think Gaara has an advantage for now because we know Thijs' hand, and he has a lot of damage. Oh man.
Ooh, that's not a bad draw, actually. That'll enable execute without forcing him to draw a card.
Wow. So Ragnaros is out of the way. And he still has 26.
But you know what else is out of the way? Both of your opponent's executes and shield slams, I think. So maybe now you just drop Gromosh. Start whittling away.
Possibly.
Gromosh would die to Gromosh. Which would be kind of interesting. But
And then they are out of cards and it just died to fatigue.
yeah. All right, so how big is the life total difference right now?
That's Ysera Awaken's pickup from Gaara was so important. That's another 5 life swing. But to both sides actually.
So we've got something like a 20 point life total discrepancy. So what's better, 20 health or fatiguing 3 turns later than your opponent? I guess it depends on how late the game goes.
Yeah, exactly. Because at some point fatigue damage is
Just
a lot.
more, yeah. So it's probably better to have
Oh wow.
armor.
This is interesting. Do you Harris on this?
I don't think so. He would just die, right?
Oh my god, this is such an interesting play. Because normally you could just play Harrison as a minion, like a 5/4 to develop it, but this stops it, like you can't play it now.
Gaara might have to wait until his armor is low enough to shield slam his own Gromosh to be able to enrage it without killing it.
Well, he has Ysera Awakens.
I guarantee you whatever play ends up happening this turn, Gaara is going to go down to the rope doing math on who dies first.
Oh man.
This is some complicated. Here goes. Here it goes.
2 more cards.
You can hear the gears turning. I'm not about to do this. This is complicated. 1 + 2 + 3 + 4. And then he draws later, and it's, oh man.
I'm just amazed by the Depth Spite being played.
This is why I play Flame Imp, man. This is too much thinking.
Yeah, I play Agrodex as well. Okay, he's going for it. Did the math.
This is aggressive.
I'm not sure what this means exactly.
It means that he's forcing Thijs to have a different.
Well, he doesn't know that Thijs has Ysera Awakens as well.
He's forcing Thijs to have a different way of killing the Harrison. He knows he only has 4 cards, 5 cards next turn. He's seen shield slams. He's seen executes. If it dies to a weapon, it's. Are there any weapons left? Has he seen all 4?
I think there might still be one Depth Spite.
Ooh, unstable Ghoul. Okay, I think Brawl RNG is going to be a big deal here.
1 to the last card is a Depth Spite.
Ooh. So I think you just Ysera Awakens now.
You can possibly also use the Depth Spite, kill the Ghoul, and then slam Harrison and armor up after that.
I actually like your play better, I think. Well,
And you can also, I think it's
I think you need to Deathbite Phase. You need to Deathbite Phase. The damage is too important.
if you do Ysera Awakens, you can still slam Gromosh to enable it, so it's not that bad.
I don't know if I like the Harrison play there. I would have liked to see some math being done, and maybe, I'm not sure if Gaara would have won Fatigue by just waiting. By just not playing anything. If he was going to win Fatigue on board, like, he had a huge life total lead, I'm not sure. The math was really close there.
Death Spite represents 8 points of damage here. So 23 and 4 points of damage from Fatigue now. That's a lot. 20, 36,
Jeez, I don't know if Gaara can win this game.
32. Well, I'm not sure who's winning this game even. But
Did you just play Big Game Hunter?
Big Game Hunter pass? I don't know, man. Do you can you play Gromosh? Like you've seen, there's still 1 card. What is
That
it?
Harrison play, he's really getting punished for this. Like, Thijs was gonna attack with weapons regardless at some point. He could have just played it as a 4/5, as a 5/4.
I think only because there was Ysera Awakens. Maybe he hoped there is no Ysera Awakens. Something like, oh my god, there is Taskmaster, so there is an enabler still. You can just slam it easily, go face, and that's 12 points of damage. Oh, he's not even using go face now, I guess. Gaara is losing this game. Oh my god. So Gaara is taking more fatigue damage. He only has this Gromosh that might just die.
Alright, if you 15 him, he's at 5. Well, there's no reason to do it now. You just armor.
Yeah. You just armor up and do 15 winning.
Unless you think Grommash is going to get to attack twice, then you do it 2 turns before you think you'll die. So Gaara's keeping his opponent's Grommash in mind. Okay, Fatigue's going to deal, what, like 6 plus 7, so you're taking
13.
14 plus 13, it's like 27-ish. So next turn is when you play Grommash? Or no, you're going to 5 yourself. You have to play Grommash this turn if you want the potential to attack with it twice.
Basically, if you don't play Grommash now, you will only attack with once. Because then you're dead. So you're forced to play it.
I think you do. I think you just drop it.
Can you just attack with it and not use the Sarah Awakens or armor up?
Well, that's no different than... You want to use the Sarah Awakens, because otherwise they'll just die to the opposing Grommash, right, with the weapon?
Oh, yeah. He armors up.
I don't like this.
1 damage for Thijs. Gaara in a bad position. Thijs can just armor up and wait, I believe.
Thijs can just get rid of all of Gaara's armor. No shield slam, no problem.
I think you just armor up and wait anyway. You can potentially deal 16 points of damage in 1 turn. And Gaara is taking, what, 7? 6? 7 next turn from fatigue.
Is he not going to do it?
I think Thijs has no reason to attack here. 6 fatigue damage.
20. Okay, so you're at 25. 20. You're taking 7. So you can't do it anymore. You can't Grommash your Sarah Awakens anymore. You die. So now you have to just Grommash armor. That was a big misplay by Gaara, not waiting or not doing it a turn earlier. I think.
Maybe he missed the math.
What now?
I think he's not accounting for the Sarah Awakens damage on his own face.
Possibly. It feels like Sarah Awakens is an enabler, and you usually forget that you actually get 5 damage to you as well.
Now, let's say you wait. You can shield slam your own Grommash, assuming you still have some armor.
Yeah, it's a possibility as well. But Thijs is taking only 2 points of damage, fatigue, and it's not much. Armor up, pass.
It's like a game of chicken. I feel like the first person to Grommash wins.
Yeah.
I think.
Thijs can deal 16. Well, Thijs is not dead to whatever happens next turn, so he can still armor up and pass. And I think he wins in turns anyway, because Gaara will take, what, 7 now? He will drop to 20, and Thijs is going to deal 16. That will be 4 with armor up. He's dead to fatigue in 2 turns. I think there's no way for Gaara to win this game. Even if he armors up, if he uses armor up next turn, he's just dead anyway. So you can possibly just armor up and pass. That ensures a win next turn. Gaara dying fatigue. Oh man, that was an amazing game.
Yep. The Harrison play is what kind of lost it for him. But to be fair, he made a calculated risk where if it was any dream card but Ysera Awakens, he wins the game.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for him, that is the card that Thijs got off of it.
And he kept it till the last moment. So Gaara is counting right now. How much damage is it?
Gaara misplayed though. 2 turns ago, he should have played the Grommash for sure. Because you want the potential to attack with it twice. Because attacking with it once is not going to win you the race. So you have to like play your Grommash, so you force him to Grommash your Grommash, and then maybe you win the race from there. Because your Grommash goes at face, and his Grommash goes at your Grommash. So you're like 12 points up in the race.
True.
Would that have made the difference? I think it might have.
Possibly. That's a swing, right? That's 12 points.
I guess you would Ysera Awakens your Grommash, and then he would Ysera Awakens and then play his Grommash. The way Gaara played
He
it
could
is probably
also like
better.
kill the Grommash with a weapon, possibly, and just go with his Grommash to full face.
Yeah.
But then you execute. So it's tricky. But right now he can't play it. Well, he can do it just... If he knows he's dead, he can just do it. So he is at 22, and this is 16 points of damage. Leaves him at, what, 4-6, and he's dead to fatigue. So Thijs does the math.
All right, and Thijs is going to win the best of 7 and be our Dreamhack Bucharest Hearthstone champion.
Oh man, first big win for Thijs. Was almost there all the time. Those top 8s, top 16s. But this is his moment. He has the victory as his war deck that he practiced the most. Gaara, still a fantastic showing.
Yeah, some great games. And, you know, Gaara showing that he's just still one of the best pros in the game, if not the best. He's up there with Kalento right now, I think, between like 1 and 2. Yeah, just exceptional play by both players. Thijs also definitely among the top pros. Consistently good showings in every event we see him in. But yeah, great showing for Meet Your Makers and great showing for Tempo Storm. These guys came out to play and went extremely far. So yeah.
Oh, certainly. And I have to say, like, this was some of the best Hearthstone I've seen in my life. Those excellent plays by both players, deck choices.
Some crazy games, like the Shaman game 1 where it came down to fatigue, and then the final.
They also got fatigue. Yeah. Both players are control players, so I'm not that surprised, but oh man, that was a fantastic thing. Okay, this was a great tournament. I had a lot of fun.
Me too.
Again, thanks to Nescafé for sponsoring it.